morning, everybody, and how you all doing out there? And let me get over here to the chat and say hello to everybody. In case I missed anybody. All right, so first one in this morning was Phelan Clan Wolf, then Crew 1351, then Shady Hill Homestead, and then I remembered, hey, I can gift 5 memberships, and I gifted them, and Phelan went and put them all up here for us. So those are the ones that just got the 30-day memberships. I mean, so if you have one of those memberships, that means you can go to the channel members playlist and watch some of the private videos for channel members only. All right, continue on down here. Let's see. Tuber chat came in, and everybody's just saying hi to each other right now. And we got even more, according to the number up at the top up here. We got more watching. So, hey, everybody. Lurking is fine, but at least hit the thumbs up and say, hey, listening. All right. Okay, so today we're going to be picking up with the start of chapter 17 of Scout and the Ninja. A Scout is Trustworthy. And we're going to be doing some more editing probably, as well as correcting some grammar in some of the sentences as stuff I've typed in there. All right, so let's get at this here, and let me bring that up. Let's shift over to put me up in the corner up there, and there we go, and boom, there it is. Okay, so for those that are just joining us, this is Scout and the Ninja is one of the novel series in the Against the Wind Saga universe. Things are a little bit like it's based on the multiverse. Things are a little bit different in one universe it is in another. Well, that's the way it is here. The first book we went through was Against the Wind, the primary book of the whole universe. And then we've been working on the Scout and the Ninja. All righty. So Michael Moore is the Scout and Kimberly Jackson is the Ninja. And they're 17 and a half years old. She's older by 1 day, and she lets them know it. And, so we're just going to go on here and see what they're up to now during the preparation for the asteroid coming by between the Earth, the massive asteroid coming by between the Earth and the Moon. All right, so Monday morning, October 12th. Michael and Kimberly ran at a moderate pace through the streets of Alpine. They saw several adults. They saw some adults running by themselves, some kids of various ages, some teens by themselves and in groups. Some of the groups of teens would change their direction to join them. Hang on, let me join them on their run. Most would break off after a mile or so. When they got back to Jake's place, Monica, Susan, Kelly, and several of the others were in the front yard doing cardio exercises. The side yard to the left of the house had 2 RVs. The side yard to the left of the house now had 2 RVs parked back to back alongside the house. They were parked between the house and the septic tank. They had been hooked up to the sewer. On the other side of the house was a 3-car garage. Between the garage and the house was a travel trailer that was hooked up to the sewer clean out from the garage. Hang on. I need to clarify something here. Do it right away here. Let's see. Oh, never mind. It's in there. Just as okay. So with the steep roof on the garage, its attic area had been turned into a 2-bedroom apartment for guests. On the other side of the garage was an RV pad with utility hookups for 2 RVs. An RV and a travel trailer sat there now. Between the big barn where Jake milked the cows and the old small feed barn that Monica was using sat a newer equipment barn and shop. It had a bath with a toilet and shower that Jake used when working on tractors and farm implements. A spot had been prepared for another RV or travel. When you put travel in there, it's TRAV. Another travel trailer parked there, but it was still vacant. Jake said that another cousin was on his way and should be arriving the next day or two. When Michael and Kimberly came back from his parents' cabin, they stopped at the Walmart in Sholo and picked up a couple dozen 32-ounce Gatorade bottles and several cases of Gatorade drink mix packets. As they went on the start of their morning run, they left 2 Gatorade bottles by the front of the walkway to the house in the flower planter. They stopped and grabbed their bottles and cracked them open and drank. No, hang on. Clarify when they got when they were done with their run, they stopped and grabbed their bottles and cracked them open and drank as they watched the others doing their exercise. As Michael drank his Gatorade, he heard grumbling as several more of Jake's relatives stumbled from the RVs and travel trailers. Travel trailers. At least while he and Kimberly were here, the others were making the attempt to do the physical training. He thought to himself. Kimberly tossed her Gatorade bottle to Michael and walked over to join her mom in the morning workout. Michael put the bottles down and joined the rest as well. Hang on here. We need to put as well in there. As well. Okay. Friday, October 16th. So that was the morning of the 12th. It's now the 16th. During their morning runs the past 4 days, Michael and Kimberly saw more and more people out running and exercising each day. Later on during the day, they would overhear some of the people moaning and groaning about having to get up early for exercising, and others poking fun at the whiners. Kimberly was feeling a lot better about the skills of the people in Alpine. Oh, sorry. About the skills that, not of, that the people of Alpine were showing, and about their surviving what they believed was coming through the winter and spring. They noticed that the streets that intersected the main highway had buried. If I get my tongue untied here, folks. Had barriers built and set to the side in such a way they could be moved into place in just a couple of minutes' notice. With just a couple of minutes' notice. Some of the Forest Service roads that led out of town from the residential streets were already blocked off in 2 places, 50 feet from the street and a half mile further away. Most of the Forest Service roads that left the highway on either side of town were already blocked a couple hundred feet from the highway with downed trees. The community had gone all out to secure themselves from intruders. There were 6 large log piles set up to be cut loose and rolled onto the highway that provided the main access to Alpine. They would wait on releasing these until there were mass evacuations from the cities. or at the first word of violent groups hitting the other towns like Sholo, Springville to the north, and Reserve and Cruzville to the east, Morenci and Duncan to the south. The main thing that still worried Michael is the uncontrolled empathy that some of the community members were showing in the meetings at the community center. A couple of them were calling for allowing those with children to be allowed in no matter what. Nothing that was said could change their minds. These were the ones that Michael told Jake that they needed to make sure that they made sure that they needed to make sure they were not on guard duty at the checkpoints for any reason. Jake and several others got the message and said they would make sure that those who wanted to let anyone in just because they had children would hang on. The message and said they would make sure that those who wanted to make just because they had children would be assigned to duties elsewhere. Okay, if I read it slow, it makes sense. There was one more meeting tonight to get Michael's and Kimberly's input before they headed back to his parents' cabin. Michael sat at one side of the big square table. The big square made of folding tables that took up most of the room at the Alpine Community Center. He was going over the map that Jake had given him to review their defensive positions and strategies. Why? He had no idea. He had just given them some basic suggestions on what they should do to protect themselves. Granted, he and Kimberly had been studying the manuals and showing the videos that she had downloaded. They all jumped to the conclusion that just because her dad was a major of a Marine Corps Force Recon unit, that she was also an expert in battle tactics, and that he, by association with her, was one too. It didn't matter that they were only 17 years old. Michael, come on, ease up there. Michael continued to work to make notes and suggestions on the map for improvements and secondary positions when something caught his eye at the door. He looked up to see men in military BDUs talking to Jake and three others of the community leaders. One of them, Mr. Robinson, pointed over at Kimberly and then at Michael. Seeing him pointing to Kimberly and Michael made his heart jump into overdrive, and his mind started racing to figure out what the military wanted with Kimberly and him. Slowly and as slyly as he could, he folded the map over and quickly began making a fake meal plan for a community dinner to hide the plan that was in plain sight. He had just about had it done when Jake, Mr. Robinson, and the two men started coming over to him. Kimberly saw them and moved to join Michael before they got to him. Mr. Robinson called out to them when they were only about halfway across the room. Michael, Kimberly, he smiled broadly. This is my son, Lieutenant Larry Robinson, and his Staff Sergeant Peyton Grimm. They've come to stay with me. Michael blew out a sigh of relief. Mr. Robinson, with the way things are going, it would be best not to point at someone when talking to men in uniform, which that someone doesn't know. It can make him very nervous, and that could cause problems that no one wants. What are you talking about? Mr. Robinson had his left hand inside of his jacket. He pulled it out, and he pulled it out with his hand wrapped around the butt of his Glock 29 SF and set it on the table. A lot of people besides myself and Kimberly are getting really nervous about a lot of things. Being pointed out to strangers is near the top of the list. Wouldn't you say so, Lieutenant? Yes, indeed. I believe that it will soon be stranger danger for adults as well as kids, Larry said. Oh, I didn't realize things were that bad, Mr. Robinson sputtered. They may not be here, but they are getting that way in the big cities, and you need to start practicing situational awareness and do it now, Michael explained. If you wait until things are bad to start, then nobody will be in practice, and someone is going to slip up really bad and get people hurt. He reholstered the Glock. Well, speaking of getting ready, Larry held out his hand to Michael. I understand I have you to thank for getting the community motivated and doing more in the way of getting security measures up and running, as well as starting training classes. Michael shook Larry's hand. All I did was point out the problems I saw and make some suggestions. The community was already bonding and trying to do some things. Then he muttered under his breath, they just didn't realize how bad it can get or how fast. Well, thank you anyways. You saved me a bunch of time and headaches. How's that? Michael asked. I was about to re-up for another 4 years when the news broke about the asteroid. I'm on terminal leave. My time is up in 2 days. I would be in the position of having to start getting everyone going from where they were when you got them motivated. And we only have a couple more days before things start getting intense. I know we're heading out tomorrow morning to go home. Hang on, it's a sentence. I got to fix this sentence. Hang on here. Are you sure you can't stay for another day or two? Peyton Grimm asked. Sorry, Staff Sergeant. I've kept Michael here longer than he or his parents were comfortable with already, Kimberly said quickly. But if you don't mind my asking, are you related to anybody around here? Peyton gave a slight smile. Nope, I don't have any family at all. I think that's why the lieutenant asked me to come along when I got out yesterday. Well, Michael smiled, maybe you'll find a family here. So you're Rangers, Kimberly said, more than asked Larry. Not as good as Forcon, but good nonetheless. Larry and Peyton drew themselves up straight and stiff. Michael chuckled and held up a finger to forestall any comment by the pair. Gentlemen, may I present the daughter of Marine Corps Forcon Major James Jackson, Miss Kimberly Jackson. Lieutenant Larry Robinson smiled and said, I can see why you're prejudiced in favor of Forcon. It's nice to meet you. He held out his hand. With you here, I don't feel quite so nervous about leaving my mom at her cousin's place. Will your father be joining her there? Peyton asked innocently, and he knew he had made a mistake when the smile that was on Kimberly's face was replaced with a grimace expression. The major died saving his men from an ambush, Michael said quickly. The Larry Robinson and Staff Sergeant Peyton Grimm snapped to attention. Our apologies, Larry said with a horrified look of a breach of etiquette in his eyes. Peyton was flushed slightly more than Larry. Kimberly saw the look in their eyes and the light reddish hue to their cheeks. She thought that these two tough Army Rangers looked so much like kids caught with their hands in the cookie jar. The melancholy sad thoughts of missing her father vanished, and the playful imp returned. Hey, it's not your fault, Kimberly said, smiling, stepping up to them with her arms open. How about a hug? Both rangers blinked in surprise, and they looked at each other and shrugged and stepped forward and hugged Kimberly. Don't say it, babe, Michael said as soon as he saw the evilness twinkle in Kimberly's eye. Say what? She asked, trying to act innocent as she stepped away from Larry and Peyton. Whatever in the army. Kimberly sighed. All right, but it was a good one. What? Larry and Peyton asked at the same time. Well, since you asked, Kimberly said excitedly. Don't, Michael jumped in. You don't want to piss off those that will be helping keep an eye on your mom. Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. It's just that my dad loved making jokes about other services. She sighed. He would have loved that one. Peyton nodded. I've heard some good ones. I don't take offense unless they're lame jokes. Okay, but the moment's gone, and it would sound lame this long after I gave you the hug you needed. Huh? Peyton looked surprised. Yeah, your eyes showed that you felt that you stepped in it when you asked about my dad. So, and also you blushed a little from embarrassment. I felt you needed a little comfort, so I offered a hug. A Marine wouldn't have needed one. Hang on, let me get something to drink here. Uh, Michael rolled his eyes and covered his face with a hand, expecting a firestorm. Ouch, Larry said, smiling. She's sharp. Kimberly held out her hand. No hard feelings. Peyton took it and shook it firmly. None at all. Well played. Michael looked up at the two Rangers in surprise. Good. I want you to know I do respect the Rangers, and we respect the Marines. Anyone that has to serve on a ship and guard a bunch of squids is all right in my book. Kimberly snickered. Yeah, Dad said that always sucked. He felt like a babysitter. Larry and Peyton chuckled. Kimberly, someone hollered from across the room. Kimberly looked over to the source and saw Susan waving at her from the door. She waved back, then quickly turned to Peyton, grabbed his left hand, and looked at it. What? Peyton asked puzzled. Are you married or you have a girlfriend? No to both. Can I set you up with a millionaire? Kimberly asked as she dropped his hand. I guess, but you can't let on that you know she's rich, okay? Roger that. Hang on, my eyes are starting to water again. The furnace just turned off and is blowing hot air up from under the table into my face, and that causes my eyes to water. Of course, it's really dry air too, so it gets the water, that stuff, to start gunking up. Kimberly turned back around just as Susan got to her. Hey, Susan, what are you doing here? I thought I should work at being part of the community, and Kelly said this was a good place to start. Well, then let me introduce some people you should know. This is Mr. Robinson. Yes, I've seen you at Jake's house a couple times. She reached out and shook his hand. I've seen you there too. Nice to finally meet you. Call me Dan. Mr. Robinson smiled. This is his son, Larry. Susan glanced at the gold bar on Larry's collar. Lieutenant, nice to meet you. Soon to be former lieutenant. I get out of the service in 2 days. He shook her extended hand and gave it a quick shake. He took her extended hand and gave it a quick shake. This is Peyton Grimm, Sergeant. Susan held out her hand. Peyton took the hand. Please, it's just Peyton. I just got divorced from the Army. Really? She practically sang. Yes, after 15 years, I took the Larry's advice and got out. Well, do you have any family around here? Just Larry. He's my brother in arms. He kind of adopted me into his, his FAM, his family unit. I'm new here too. Just arrived Saturday. Hang on a second. She explained as she guided Peyton over to some chairs along the wall. As soon as they were out of earshot, Michael asked in a hushed voice, "What are you doing?" Oh, man, still got goop just gumming up here now. Sorry, guys. I just hate the dry weather because, in the wintertime, when it drops below freezing, all the moisture gets sucked out of the air, and it just plays heck with my eyes. Oh, got someone else just came in. All righty. What are you doing? Peyton has no family. Susan has no family. She's staying with my mom. Larry will be staying at his dad's house 3 doors down the street. Peyton will be staying with him, right, Larry? Yes, for now, Larry answered, trying to hide the smile from his face. So if they start seeing each other, he'll spend a lot of time over there, and he'll spot any deficiencies in security that we missed, Kimberly explained. Then I can stay with you and your parents and not be worried about things here. She ran her hand over Michael's shoulders. Could someone explain what's going on? Larry asked. Sure thing, Michael said. On the first night of the news break, Kimberly's mom, Monica, wanted to come here from Tempe, but Kimberly has been having nightmares about Alpine being overrun and everyone killed. The next day, we bumped into each other at a store, and we were attacked by Cupid with arrows of mass emotions. Kimberly snorted a stifled laugh. Very true. She leaned down and kissed Michael's head. The next morning, we met with our parents, and after some frank, open discussion, my mom invited Kimberly and her mom to come stay with us. Kimberly picked up the story. My mom and I talked a lot, but she felt she felt that it wouldn't get that bad here. She talked with Jake and others about our concerns in defending Jake's farm, and he said they had taken care of it. Taking care of the it is missing. Taking care of it. When we moved some of our belongings here, Michael and I didn't think they had done enough to make the property safe. Michael spoke again, so we told him what they'd done wasn't nearly enough, and their defenses could easily be breached. Jake didn't believe us, and we had to show him. Once we breached their security perimeter and killed a couple of them, they started taking things we said a lot more serious and realized they had a lot of work to do. Kimberly said. Still, Mom didn't want to turn her back on her cousins, so we reinforced the barn that we have our travel trailer in, and taught them how to do the same with the house and make some fire positions that look weak but are very bullet resistant. Then my mom came to the conclusion that I should go ahead and go with Michael to his parents' place up north, and she would stay here unless it started to get bad. Then she would bug out. She snuck off and left me with Michael. She snuck off and left me with Michael and his father last Wednesday. Last Wednesday. Hang on, I gotta make that. When Michael and I tracked her down, she had convinced her best friend Susan to sell everything in Tempe and join her here. That's when Murphy's Law came into play. They were at a gold exchange converting some of her money to gold when it got robbed. I take it they made it out okay? Only because we got there seconds ahead of the robbers and saw them pulling them in before we got out of Michael's Jeep. We took out the robbers without them firing a shot. But that was the second robbery we helped stop since the news of the asteroid broke. Anyways, that was that was Friday, and we all got here Saturday afternoon. We've been pushing everyone to exercise and train on their weapons. We have kids 10 and up scouting the perimeter, looking for ways that outsiders could get in, and in helping the adults plug those holes. That's why you paired Peyton up with Susan. You want him to stay at Jake's to keep an eye on your mom. Guilty as charged, Kimberly said. Everyone has made great progress in securing the town. Everyone has made such such great progress in securing the town that I feel they should be able to do so without me here. So I'm going to go with Michael tomorrow. Jake and my mom have the ham radio frequency for the cabin, Michael's parents' place. And we can be back here in about 4 hours if needed to cover an evacuation. No offense, but what can you do that if you would make such a difference in a battle? Kimberly smiled wickedly. 11 years of 4-con training by my dad. First Dan black belt in karate, third level instructor in Jeet Kune Do, blade weapons, and a bit more others. Hang on, he put in here. Arch. Hang on, I need to lower A. Archery. Archery competitor. Yes. All right. Jeet Kune Do, archery competitor, blade weapons master, and a bit more of other skills. Larry nodded slowly, accepting Kimberly's impressive resume. And you, he asked Michael. Hang on, I can make that a capital H. Hope I haven't missed any others here. I don't think so. He asked Michael. Michael opened to answer, but Kimberly stopped him. But stopped when Kimberly started snickering. What? Kimberly pulled out her Kindle, made several taps, and handed it to Larry. Tell me who he reminds you of. Larry watched the video. It was of the day Michael and Kimberly went to archery headquarters to practice, and Randy videoed them practicing. Kimberly had set it to the point where Michael was shooting by himself, using the whole range, running back and forth, shooting arrows as fast as he could. In less than 30 seconds, he shot 40 arrows into the center bullseyes of 3 different targets, even splitting 4 arrows, so tight were his groups. Then he fired 4 groups of 3 arrows as fast as he could. An arrow from each group hit the bullseye of each one. Hang on, I need to change that of. He shot 4 groups of 3 arrows at the same time as fast as he could. An arrow from each group hit the bullseye of each of the 3 targets each time. Dang, was all Larry said as he handed the Kindle back to Kimberly. No force survives a silent attack from the rear for long, Kimberly said, as if she were reciting something she'd memorized. Such an attack will sow panic and confusion and leave an enemy open for a rout. Good point. Larry agreed. Just make sure they don't wait too long to call us, Kimberly said. Or better yet, that they don't have to, Michael added. Sneaky, dirty, underhanded tactics can chase a lot of people away. Sneaky, dirty, underhanded tactics can chase a lot of people away. Yes. Those we can do. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Kimberly smiled grimly. Jake stepped up to them. Better grab your seats if you want to sit together. Jake, I think we should have Larry look over the map and see what he thinks, Michael said. Agreed. Can you go over it with him quickly? Jake replied, sure thing, Michael said, and turned the map over, exposing it to Larry's view. So what do you have here? Larry asked as he slipped into the seat next to Michael. After the meeting, Michael, Kimberly, Jake, Susan, Dan Robinson, Lieutenant Larry Robinson, and Staff Sergeant Peyton Grimm, and a couple others in the core group of Alpine's defenders stayed and gathered around the map to go over some of the ideas that were brought up during the meeting in more detail. After several minutes, Larry noticed that Peyton was getting withdrawn as he does when something's bothering him. Staff Sergeant, what's wrong? It's the whole asteroid thing, sir. Tuesday, I was talking with First Sergeant Myers in supply. He said they'd been stockpiling all the supplies for Benning up at Camp Merle. Well, that was to be expected, as Benning is below the evacuation elevation. No, that's not at all. He said they were instructed to triple the stockpile. He said, sorry, at first, triple the stockpile, then last month, double it again. Peyton hesitated as he chewed on his lower lip, and he mentioned that they had ordered a series of books for all command level officers. I need to change that from colonel down to major. Major and above. What novels? Blood Moon Falling, The Dying Winter, and Tawaki Time. We've been reading those, Kimberly commented. Yeah, the only difference is to what's happening now is in the novels, it's a planetoid instead of an asteroid, Michael added. You have them? Larry asked. Can I borrow them? They're on our Kindles, Michael answered. I have them at home, son, Dan interjected. You can have them tonight. Okay, Larry said, turning back to Peyton. What else, knowing there had to be more to him brooding? Come on, easy. Okay. If the Joint Chiefs is having command staff read these books, then they must be concerned about those events. He took a breath. If those are scary enough that the Joint Chief had issued those orders, well, he let the sentence hang. Damn it, Larry hissed. It's the brigand raiders and food shortages scenarios that have us worried the most, Michael said. Food has been addressed the best it can be for a couple years for most of us, which gives us time to plant larger gardens for canning food. As far as roving refugees go, we are working on it. It's the brigands and existing gangs that could be the big problem next year. Do you really believe there's going to be a collapse of society? Oh, hang on, let me stretch a bit. Oh, and someone else just came in. Hey, welcome. It's already happening. The street gangs are hitting gold and jewelry stores. In some areas, people are moving out into the farms and squatting on them, causing problems, Kimberly answered. Food production will be affected as more people leave the cities for security and for food and squatting on farmland. That just doesn't sound right. To go to the COUN, the country, for security and for food, and wind up squatting on farmland. Also taking into account the lack of oil availability after the increased tidal surges wipe out the oil production in the Gulf and the Alaska pipeline transfer stations. It'll take years to rebuild and get oil production back up to speed. In the meantime, no oil means no fuel, and no fuel means no transportation of food or other products, Michael explained. A lot of people are going to die. We are going to lose a lot of knowledgeable and skilled people. The power grid will go down. Water treatments and sanitation treatment plants will be non-operational without power. And that will cause the spread of diseases which thrive in contaminated water. That will contribute to more deaths and dead bodies rotting in the open air, which in turn provides a breeding ground for more diseases and further contamination of drinking water sources. The cycle will continue for the first year or two. Jake spoke up. We know there's going to be a big die-off in the big cities, such as the Phoenix, Tempe, Mesa metro area this winter. Heck, it may start before then in 6 to 8 weeks. If that's the case, we may get a lot more people coming our way than we figured on before winter fully begins. Dad, Larry asked. I agree. The more we look at the way things are going, the large and way things are going, and the large number of stories about riots and other problems that are being reported on the alternative news sites, as well as a few mainstream news sites, it just drives home what Michael and Kimberly have been warning. Getting more worried every day. I just didn't think it would get so bad around here, and if it did, it would be a year or two away. Now I'm not so sure I'm not so sure we even have 6 months. Larry and Peyton looked at each other. Peyton sighed and leaned back in his chair and rubbed a hand over the short hair on his head. Well, Lieutenant, what do you think? We're going to need more weapons and ammunition, Larry said. Military weapons, too, if we can find some. How do we get them? Jake asked. The black market for some items, but we can get rifles and ammunition at local gun shops. We need to go tomorrow, Larry said. I'll make some calls tonight, Peyton said to Larry. I'll pay for some of it, Susan jumped in. We need to see what sort of community contributions we can get, Larry said with a bit of frustration. How much will you need? Jake asked. 10, maybe 20,000, Peyton said, depending on what we can get and how prices are getting jacked up because of the asteroid. Susan leaned over and whispered in Peyton's ear. His mouth dropped open and his eyes widened. You can afford that much? I can't afford not to, she replied. Okay, Peyton said a little reluctantly. We have all the money. Everyone looked over at Susan in surprise. Hey, if things are going to be as bad as you say, we need whatever weapons we can get. I just wish I'd bought a dozen of the carbines and tripled the amount. Hang on, the amount of ammunition I got I got already. Where do you think you will need to go to get what you want? Kimberly asked Peyton. Tucson, most likely, maybe Glendale, Peyton said. Make your calls, Kimberly said, quickly realizing that time just became a serious issue. She turned to Michael. We need to get back to Jake's house to check on something else right now. What's up? We need to have My mom texted Douglas and see if they are still there. Are you sure we need to go back into the city? Michael asked suspiciously. If they are still there, yes. Then just go ahead and call her, Michael said to her. Then to the rest, we should go now. Kimberly grabbed her notebook and backpack and followed Michael to the door, with Susan hot on her heels. The others quickly followed suit. Okay. More water. All right. When Michael and Kimberly pulled into Jake's driveways, the others were right behind them and followed them back to the small barn. Kimberly was bailing out of the Jeep before Michael had it in park. She shouldered the barn's reinforced door open and went inside, calling out to her mother. When the others joined her inside, Kimberly was on her cell phone talking. And if you're still there tomorrow, we will meet you before opening. We can do that. Sure thing. She walked over to Larry. Well, let me hand you off to Lieutenant Larry Robinson, formerly of the 75th Regiment. She handed the phone to Larry. This is Douglas. To Larry, this is Douglas Cooper. He was my dad's executive officer. He works in his father's gun shop. Larry took the phone. Hello, Douglas. This is Larry here. Hello, Douglas. Larry here. Did Kimberly tell you what we're looking for? Peyton stood off to the side, talking quietly on his cell phone. While Larry talked to Douglas and Peyton talked to whoever he was conversing with, Kimberly walked back over to Michael and ran her hands around his waist. Him. We may need to take another. We may need to take another run back to Tempe. We will back to Tempe, if not 2 runs. I gathered that. Are we taking extra bodies? Michael said as he held her and pulled her even tighter to him. Not sure, but I'm not sure how many, but I would like to take an extra shooter per truck to stand guard per truck. I'm thinking we need to take mine and Susan's trucks. If we need to, we can get a U-Haul trailer or another dump trailer. 2 trucks, huh? Which one's yours and which one's Susan? Dan asked. Mine is the F-350 with the utility box and shell on it. Susan's is the big F-460 trailer hauler. Dan Robinson spoke up. He said rent a U-Haul trailer or buy a dump trailer. But what about the ones we already have here? I have a 14-foot cargo trailer. 1 or 2 axle? 2. Perfect, Michael said. Susan can haul your trailer, and we can haul anything that doesn't fit. Even if it does fit, we can still even if everything does fit, then we can just head straight to the cabin. What about our extra shooter? If we split up in the city and head straight back here to the, if we split up in the city and head straight back here and to the cabin, sorry. They can head straight back here. and we can go to the cabin. Hang on, let me read this here. So I need to get this a little bit more laid out, more properly here. If we split up in the city, they can head straight back here, and we can go to the cabin. If not, then just take the if not out of there. Then they can ride back with Susan. I should have thought of that. She smiled sheepishly. You're just a little frazzled, that's all, Michael said. Wait, what about your Jeep? I guess I'm frazzled too. We'll take it too and have 2 people per vehicle. Hey guys, Peyton said as he got off the phone, we need to be in Glendale at 1100 hours. How far away is that? About 250 miles or so, Dan answered. That means we need to leave here by 0500, Kimberly said, or earlier, depending on when Douglas wants to meet us, Michael added quickly. They all turned to Larry and watched silently as he talked to Douglas. After another minute, Larry said goodbye to Douglas. He turned to them. He'll wait for us until 0800, then they're leaving for their redoubt. We have 10 minutes to load what we can pay for. So we leave at 0300, Kimberly said, or we go right away tonight, catch a couple hours of sleep at a Walmart parking lot near the gun shop, Michael offered. I'm for tonight, Peyton said. Me too, Susan added quickly. I agree, Larry concurred. Ditto, Kimberly said. No way I'm letting the Corps get shown up. Okay, then, Michael started. Susan, grab your then meet us and grab some snacks. Then meet us at my dad's so we can hook his trailer up to your truck, Larry said. We have extra blankets you guys can use, Dan said, starting for the door. We still have our gear, Larry said as he followed. But a few blankets wouldn't hurt, Peyton interjected and hurried after them. No, I guess they wouldn't, Larry smiled. Now you know why I recruited him for my platoon, he added as they went out the door. I'll get my sleeping bag and no arguments, Monica said flatly. You need an extra shooter. Well, I can drive and you can shoot. She spun around and stalked off to her trailer. Okay, Kimberly said softly. I guess she told us, Michael chuckled. Yeah, Kimberly sighed lightly. I'll go warm up my truck. I'll get our sleeping bags and water bottles, Michael said, moving towards the door. Grab a bag of jerky, too. I'll just grab my backpack. It's got a bunch of food in it. Boom, yeah. It's got a bunch of food in it. I'll keep the kids out of the barn while you're gone, Jake said, but could you get me 2 more of the High Point carbines? Kelly likes it and wants one of her own. Sure thing. And a case of ammunition too. Kimberly smiled. Better make it two. She's having a lot of fun with it at the practice range. You got it. Yeah. 10 minutes later, they were at the Robinsons' home, connecting the trailer to Kimberly's. To reading across lines there. Sorry, guys. 10 minutes later, they were at the Robinsons' home and connecting the trailer to Susan's F-650. They split up with Peyton riding with Susan, Monica and Kimberly in the F-350, and Larry riding with Michael in his Jeep. And is sorry. Hang on. In his Jeep Wagoneer. After the trailer was hooked up, they pulled out with Michael and Larry taking the lead, followed by Susan and Peyton. Next, next, with Kimberly and Monica bringing up the back. The trip was uneventful, and they arrived at the Walmart near the gun shop a little after 1 o'clock in the morning. There were several other groups of campers, RVs, and travel trailers in the Walmart parking lot. The store was one of those 24/7 stores, so they took turns using the restrooms and grabbing a bite to eat before going to sleep. Peyton had just caught about 4 hours of nap time while they drove, so he volunteered to stand watch while the others slept. All right, chapter 18. Ooh. And we're at less than an hour on chapter 18. Okay. Chapter 18, The Earth Shudders. October 17th and 18th. Saturday, October 17th, the quakes start. Michael grabbed Kimberly and pulled her tightly to him as the truck bounced around. She tongue-tied here. She eagerly returned the embrace. He'd felt a couple of very small quakes in his life. This was strong, being a 3.1 magnitude, but it was the strongest being 3.1 magnitude, but this was much stronger. After about a half minute, it stopped. Outside of the F-350's utility box, he could hear car alarms going off. Whoa, that was unexpected. Sure was. Are you okay? Kimberly asked. And you? Yeah. What time is it anyways? 5:30. So much for getting 5 hours of sleep. We could try napping for another 90 minutes, Michael suggested. I have a better idea. She turned his face W-A-R towards her and started kissing him deeply. Suddenly there was a knock on the door of the utility box, followed by Monica's voice. Are you two all right? Yes, Kimberly groaned. Give us a minute to get our clothes back on. What? Monica slipped out. She's just kidding. Michael responded quickly. Brat. Kimberly spat good-naturedly and kissed Michael again. You ruined a good tease. He gave her a quick kiss and called out, is everybody up? Susan's up talking with Peyton in her truck. Larry's in the store getting some food. Okay, we'll be out in a few minutes, Michael said. After I give him a massive monkey bite, Kimberly broke into a laughing fit. No, she's not, Michael yelled. Ow, yes, she is. Oh, they heard Monica say. She quickly hurried away. Stop it, Michael pleaded. In a minute, Kimberly muttered as she sucked on his neck. During the next hour, there were 2 more quakes, each smaller than the preceding one. They arrived at the gun shop at 6:45 and backed the trailer up in front of the gun shop store, with the Jeep and F-350 backed up on either side. Monica pulled out her phone and texted Douglas to let him know that they were at the gun shop. A few seconds later, her phone pinged and she had a text that simply said 2 minutes. 90 seconds later, they saw 2 U-Haul trucks pull into the parking lot and park in the spaces on the opposite side of the aisle in front of the gun shop. They saw that Douglas drove the first truck and his dad, Martin, drove the second truck. They both had another person with them. Once they were parked, Martin and Douglas climbed out and came over to them. Hello, Mrs. Jackson, Kimberly, Michael. They responded with hellos as well. Douglas turned to Larry. Good to meet you. He held out a hand to Larry. Martin unlocked the door and waved everybody inside. Douglas, this is Staff Sergeant Peyton Grimm. Staff Sergeant, Captain. Peyton saluted. Captain, not anymore. Douglas smiled weakly. Well, shall we get to it? We want to have the store cleared by 08:15. Still getting pop-ups here. All right. Oh, got someone back in here again. Welcome. And it is XXX-666. Good morning. Okay. And that's interesting. That's not showing up over here. Oh, not anymore. Okay, we want to have the store cleared by 08:15. Like we spoke on the phone last night, we'll take all of the 223, 5.56 NATO, 308, 338 Lapua, 7.62 millimeter, 10 millimeter Smith & Wesson 40 millimeter, 40 caliber ammunition you'll let us have. After I talked to you, my dad and I set aside 40 cases of 223, 25 cases of 5.56 NATO, and 40 cases of 5.56 Creedmoor. Did I have that up above? 5.6 Creedmoor. 30 cases of that. I'm just comparing to see what things are sitting here. Okay. Let's see what this does here. Trying to get things straightened out here. Okay. That's strange. Help me something get in there. Let's see what this here shows. Interesting. And let's see what we have here. Okay, got that there. I thought I just set aside. Oh. Hang on, I need to put that up. Add this one to the upper one here. 308. Lapua. Yeah, there we go. Make it match up. Okay. Lapua 30 cases. Blah, blah, blah. That's all the cases number. And specifically for Kimberly, 5 cases of 10 mil and 12 cases of Smith & W40. That'll do nicely. I would have expected you've been low on inventory. The day the news broke, about the asteroid. I placed some huge orders. We've moved most of it. Moved almost all of it. You have plenty for yourself. Of course, it's already gone, Martin said with a smile. And, okay, that popped up. And it's interesting stuff popping around here. I don't know what's going on with the stuff here. Do you have that Glock I asked about? Of course, Lieutenant. I got to keep your mom happy. Douglas, what about that special item we talked about? Susan asked. I wasn't sure you wanted that as general knowledge. It's a gift for Peyton, she smiled. Douglas pointed to a rifle case sitting on a small pile of boxes. Barrett M99 A1 rifle and point of 416 with a millet illuminated side focus tactical scope and 10 cases of ammunition. Damn, Peyton let slip out. Excuse my French, but that's got to be 10 grand. Almost. Hush, I'm hiring you as my bodyguard and equipping you accordingly. Okay, Peyton said, very confused. Kimberly, Michael, and Larry smiled to themselves. What's the total? I'm paying for everything. 20 minutes, Susan said. 20 minutes later. Oh, right. We got 6 people in here now. Well, I just lost it. 20 minutes later, they had loaded all the ammunition into the trailer except the ammunition for Kimberly, which was placed in the back of the Jeep. The weapons were loaded in the back of Kimberly's F-350 utility box. They stayed and spent the next 30 minutes helping Martin and Douglas load the U-Hauls. It turned out they were able to get almost everything into just one of them. As they said goodbye to Martin and Douglas Cooper, Kimberly slipped Martin one of her father's card with a ham radio frequency that Michael had set up at the cabin as set up as the cabin contact frequency. If you need help or have to relocate, call it, she whispered and kissed Martin on the cheek. Then she turned to Douglas and saluted. It's not proper for Marines to kiss. Semper Fi, he snapped at attention. Hoorah! Kimberly barely choked out and then let out, ah, hell. She stepped forward and hugged him. Thank you for helping Dad when you could. They headed over to Glendale where Peyton said they needed to go. They were a couple hours early, so they stopped at IHOP for a real breakfast before going to the meeting place. While they were eating, Peyton received a text saying that the time needed to be moved up an hour and a half. They hurried through their breakfast and arrived at the meeting place 20 minutes early for the new time. 5 minutes after they arrived, a military 5-ton truck pulled into the parking lot of the abandoned warehouse, pulling two M1082 LMTV cargo trailers. The driver stopped in the shade of the warehouse and hopped out and quickly made his way over. Hey, Peyton. Looking good, Frank, Peyton responded. Frank came to attention and saluted when Larry stepped into the view. Sir, at ease, Sergeant. Thank you for your help. Larry said, and Larry said as he returned to salute. I'm going to drop the second trailer. Everything you want is in it, plus a few extras. Make sure it is completely empty. I have to take the truck and the other trailer to the Tucson Armory. We're clearing out this one and consolidating everything up there. Frank turned quickly to walk back to the trailer with Peyton and Larry right beside him. We'll wash and wax it. Great. Everything is so hectic here with the move. The discrepancy shouldn't be noticed for at least a year. And if things keep going crazy in Tucson, it may never get noticed. What do you mean? After dark, the gangs and other goobers are running wild. Mary and I have moved the kids to her grandparents a, cu- a couple days ago, and we're going there in 2 days. Take what supplies you can. You'll need them. Yes, sir, Frank said. Frank smiled. Oh, man, my foot's hurting here. Yes, sir. Frank smiled as he disconnected the trailer. Too bad we had to meet up again this way, Peyton said as he held out a lunchbox with the gold in it for the supplies. Frank looked at it and said, "Can you take it to Mary at the house? They've been eyeballing us when we leave at night. They may start searching us soon." Sure thing. What's the address? Uh, Frank handed him a slip of paper. It's only a mile away. Okay, now get out of here before they miss you. Right. See you after things settle down, Frank said, and he ran to the cab of the truck. As soon as he was moving away, Susan pulled her F650 X50 with the trailer around and backed it up to the M1082. They filled the trailer. They filled. They filled. I guess let's see. They filled the trailer, then finished filling the back of Kimberly's F-350 utility box and Michael's Jeep. They even had to load some of the cases into the back seats of all three vehicles. I guess we're not going straight to the cabin, Michael quipped to Kimberly. Not with this stuff, she sighed. What? Michael asked. It would be nice to have some up there, though, just in case. Once they were loaded, they headed over to Mary's house, gave her the lunchbox. She and Peyton hugged briefly, and they left to go to Jake's. Oh, okay. Hang on. What's popping up here? All right. That's acting up too. All right. There we go. Mom called Jake. Okay. It was almost 2:30 p.m. when they were approaching Nutristo, and Kimberly noticed what appeared to be smoke rising from Escadilla Mountain a little to the east of them. Mom, call Jake and ask him about the smoke coming off from that mountain. Monica looked to where Kimberly was pointing. That looks like a fire. She pulled out her phone. As dry as it has been, that could be very bad. She called Jake, but he didn't answer. He's not picking up. This is not good. Call Michael and let him know, then call Susan. Okay, she pushed the speed dial for Michael and he answered immediately. And she put this phone on speaker. Michael, look up the mountain to the east. You see that? Yeah, Larry called his dad about it. It's been smoking since first light. Do they know what it is? He said it's coming from Escadilla Mountain. They think it's a lightning strike fire, but they hadn't heard anything yet for sure. Haven't heard anything for sure. Did they feel the earthquakes? Yes, they did. From what Mr. Robinson said, it was a lot stronger there than it was what we felt this morning. Michael, Kimberly spoke hesitantly. It just came back. Yeah, Larry has that feeling too. All right. Okay. I got to go take care of something real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. And Howie's here, Food Forest Permaculture. All righty. Let's see, where was I? Okay. As they drove through Alpine, they could see some signs of the earthquake. A few broken windows, a few more cracks in the pavement and sidewalks, but other than that, things looked normal. When they pulled into Jake's driveway, the activity on the farm was just a little bit busier than normal. Several of the rock-filled barricades had fallen over, and the relatives were helping Kelly and Jake to upright them with the tractors and secure them so they would not fall over again. I wondered how the walls in the barn held up, Kimberly mused out loud. We'll find out soon enough, Monica replied. Michael pulled off to the side to let Susan come by and back the trailer up to the barn doors. Then Kimberly backed her truck up next to the trailer, and Michael did likewise on the other side of the trailer. Once they were parked, the unloading began. The ammunition that was for Kimberly was left in the Jeep, as was two of the Ruger precision rifles in .338 Lapua and 2 cases of ammunition for them, not it, for them. The Barrett M99 A1 rifle and its 10 cases of ammunition were placed in Susan's travel trailer. The 2 Kel-Tec RFB semi-auto bullpup rifles were given to Jake and Dan since they hunted with .308 bolt action, so we're used to the recoil. They also got 2 cases of .308 ammunition. The rest of the rifles were placed upstairs until they could determine who would get to use them. The rest of the ammunition was placed up in the hayloft of the big barn. They cleared an area in the middle of the loft and stood up several unused inch and eight sheets, sheets of subfloor plywood around the stack. Then packed the hay tightly around the plywood. This was to protect the ammunition from any stray shots if they got into battles at or near Jake's place. Supplies they got from Peyton's friend at the Arizona National Guard were divided of the explosive items. They were taken to the Robinson's place and put in a steel cargo container that they lined with the subfloor plywood, and 2 feet of dirt and rock between the steel wall and the plywood. Everyone at Jake's was more than happy for the explosives to be stored elsewhere. Then they were meeting back at the old small barn to go over some items that Larry and Peyton wanted to clarify before Kimberly and Michael headed off to his parents' cabin. Suddenly, Jennifer came running into the barn carrying a laptop. Whoa there, girl, what's the big hubbub? Dad, you said the name of the mountain where the smoke was at was Escadilla Mountain? Yes. Did you know that it was a volcano? Jennifer asked with wide-eyed fear painted across her face. It's not a volcano, Jake said dismissively. Yes, it is, she countered. It says so right here. She turned the laptop around to him. It says that Escadilla Mountain is the oldest volcano in the region. What? Several of them said in surprise. Yeah, but it's not the only one either, Jennifer said. She turned the laptop back to herself and read. We are surrounded by lots and lots of young volcanoes. The volcanoes discovered include the area between Springville and to the east and Sholo Pine Top to the west. Concho in the north and Greens Peak Baldy Mountain to the Mount Baldy to the south. One of the most prominent volcanoes and much older than those found in the Springville fields near Shiloh and Pinetop is Porter Mountain. The Springville volcanic field in in terms of geology is relatively small, relatively young. Sorry, getting tongue tied here. Is relatively young. This is one of the largest volcanic fields in the southern Colorado Plateau, and is actually the youngest volcanic fields in the U.S. She took a deep breath. The Springerville volcanoes tend to erupt only once. That is different from the larger ones. This is typical. This is typical of a lot of these volcanic fields. The eruptions usually last a couple million years. She looked at her dad. Are you sure that we are going to be all right? I don't know enough to answer that, Jake said with concern in his voice. Jennifer, can I see your laptop? Sure, she said as she handed it to Kimberly. Okay, I am Kimberly. Kimberly took the laptop and scrolled back to the top of the page and quickly read through the article. After a couple of minutes, she spoke. According to this, the magna pool has been moving east. The volcanoes around here erupt only once, and yes, those eruptions last for a long time, but they are slow flow eruptions. Alpine should be safe. If an eruption were to occur for Escadilla Mountain, it should be on the far east side away from us. That's a relief, Susan said. That doesn't mean that if the winds change and blow east to west, we won't be affected by ash and smoke if it does erupt. Kimberly said. Kimberly added. What would you call what it's doing now? Gas venting, Kimberly answered. Hang on, I gotta lean that. If that is a volcanic activity we see, it could be a fire. It could be a fire. Right now, the winds are blowing to the east at a decent speed. So, correct me if I'm wrong. We should be safe from a fire up there. We should be. The big fire several years ago burnt off all of the undergrowth and brush. Burnt itself out before it got too close to town. I don't recall seeing more than a dozen times that the wind has come from the east. Still, just the same, Larry spoke up. We should think about making an evacuation plan. For the whole town, Jake asked. No, Michael interjected. Just your core group, those that you really trust. I agree with Michael, Larry said, and then turned to Michael and Kimberly. You seem to have backup plans already. Do you have any ideas? Michael stiffened and then took a deep breath. I have one. It requires everyone to do camping. There is this campground that is usually shut down for the winter. It'll be hard and harsh for you this winter. You'll have to bring enough food for 2 years at least. Power will be problematic. Water lines may freeze. Propane for RVs and travel trailers will be in short supply. On the plus side, there is a remote area that is defendable. It is a remote area that is defendable, and there are grazing lands for cattle, deer to hunt, and good people around you. Does it get snowed in? It gets snowed, but not snowed in usually. If things go as bad as we expect, the highway department will not be plowing the highway to the area. Snow chains and four-wheel drives will be required until it gets too deep. Then it may be inaccessible for several months, depending on the weather. The people in the area take care of the local roads so you can get around somewhat in the immediate area. If the state plows are left in place, we can use them locally. Jake held up a finger to stop the conversation while he thought. After a couple of minutes, he spoke. How far away is this place? Almost 6 hours to the north, Michael said. How soon will we have to leave to be able to get there to survive the winter? That's a tough question. Monica has some supplies stored near there already. If you want to start sending supplies that way, I would start now. By the time the asteroid passes in 4 days, it may be hard going to get back. It may be hard going to get. Sorry. It may be. Sorry, something just wrong in the sentence. It may in 4 days. Put a comma in there that will help break it up. Let me take that 2 out of there. Yeah, there we go. It may be hard going back and forth. Heck, it may be hard just getting there in a couple days. That's why I was heading back. Just then the ground shook. The earthquake lasted about 20 seconds, was only about 3.6 on the Richter magnitude scale. Monica, Susan said loudly, we need to go with Michael ASAP. Really? Monica asked, slightly shocked. Yes, really. I don't think it was the hungry people of Kimberly's dreams that were the real threat. What do you mean? Larry asked, not knowing exactly what Kimberly had seen in her dreams that made her afraid of the area. Everyone looked at Kimberly. In my dreams, I kept seeing hundreds of families swarming the area. Then there were bands of brigands that came in, killing everyone. Suddenly everything was on fire. I always thought the fires were caused by the brigands. But when I saw the smoke up in the mountain, I began to think differently. Now, with what Jennifer showed us, I'm thinking it could be several different causes for the fires. I usually don't believe in signs, but Susan started. Another earthquake shook them. This one was lighter still, about 1.8 magnitude. But I'm starting to really quick, Susan said, with a serious expression on her face. Too much crap is going on. I believe Kimberly was right. We need to go to Michael's place. Everyone looked at Susan. Some looked puzzled. Some looked shocked. Some looked shocked. Michael and especially Kimberly just smiled. All right, we got 7 people in here now watching. Hello, everybody. Feel free to say hi in the chat. Susan turned to Michael. Can I come to your parents' place? If Monica comes too, Michael answered. Susan and Kimberly looked at Michael. Okay, Monica. Okay, I'll go. Monica sighed. Kimberly stepped over to Mom and hugged her. Thank you, she whispered to her. Good. Peyton, please come with me. A shocked Peyton sputtered, hemmed, and hawed. Please, I want you to be my bodyguard. I want you with me even more now. Where would we store supplies? Jake asked while Peyton was trying to make up his mind. We have a couple 40-foot cargo containers that have some room in them. We'll see if we can get more today. This is Saturday, okay. Michael said and pulled out his cell phone. I'll buy several of them if that helps, Susan said quickly. While Michael was talking on his phone to his parents, Jake asked Kimberly if she had been to the place Michael was talking about. I've driven by it several times. There are 2 campgrounds in the area that I have seen. A nicer one right off the highway, and one a bit more primitive on the way to Michael's place. I'm going to pack, Jennifer said as she ran out of the barn. Jennifer, wait, Jake shouted after her. Let her go. Let her go pack. It'll keep her busy. Okay. Jake sighed, okay. Kimberly, are there any homes for sale near the... Are there any homes for sale near there? Dan asked. I don't know. Maybe Susan can check using her real estate skills. I'll check, but I need to know where it is. I'm checking, Susan said to Kimberly. Kimberly gestured to Monica's travel trailer where Susan was currently staying. Let's go inside the trailer to your laptop. Susan picked up on Kimberly's concern to do the search privately and turned to go inside the trailer when Michael spoke up. My parents are getting more containers coming today. What size? 40-foot high cubes. Can we start shipping supplies tomorrow? You can start today. They have 10 that are empty now. Kimberly and I are heading back as soon as we can. We will be towing Susan's and Monica's trailers there today. If there's room, we can squeeze some of you. We can squeeze in. If there is room, we can squeeze some in, or you can convoy with us and pull a trailer of your own. We'll be back tomorrow with my parents' trailers to haul more items and finish taking Monica's and Susan's belongings up there and start on your supplies. You'll be back about what time? Before noon, Michael said. Michael replied, then asked, Jake, Dan, how many families are in your core group? Jake confirmed with Dan before answering, not counting Monica or Susan, but counting my relatives here. The two of Dan's families staying with him, and the 22 families. 22 families, but I'm not. That's my mouth. Stop. Blah. And the 2 of Dan's family staying with him, 22 families. But we don't know if everyone will want to go. I will let those of my relatives that want to stay here do so. Dan will do the same. Any that jump to mind you think will want to stay here? Jake looked at Dan, who held up one finger. One of Dan's and 2 of mine for sure. Maybe one or 2 others. You need to get a firm count by tomorrow noon. Michael said grimly. I should have an answer before you leave, Dan said. I'm going to call a meeting of my relatives tonight, but I will of our core group and should have a list for you by the time you get home. You should let them know that the people that own the campgrounds will not be offering food. They expect you to bring your own food and work hard for the community. Then they heard one of the neighbors calling out for Jake from just outside the small barn. Jake, it's me, George. Kelly said you were out here. Jake opened the small door within the big barn and stuck his head out. What's up, George? I need to talk to you. It's about the earthquake. Marjorie was doing some checking on the internet. He took a long breath. She started looking to see if there was something on the smoke on Escadilla Mountain. She found out it's an old volcano. Marjorie thinks it's becoming active. Jake, we need to leave here and go someplace else. Who have you told about this? No one. Marjorie said not to. She said to talk to you and Kimberly. We think Kimberly might know something since she was so worried. Was so worried with her mom being here. We need to talk to her about where we can go. Who's we? Our core group. You know, like she and Michael said, we need to keep our core group together, cover each other. Come on in. Jake pushed the door further open and stepped back inside. George followed Jake into the barn. Kimberly and Susan came out of the travel trailer. Dan, every residential home that was for sale has been bought already. Then she saw George at the door. Hello, Mr. Peterson. What's up? Kimberly, you seem to know a lot more than anyone. These earthquakes and smoke coming from Escadilla Mountain. Marjorie and I feel we need to go somewhere further from here, from the volcano fields we found out about that are up between Sholo and Springerville. Do you know where we can go someplace safe from whatever? Michael turned to Dan. Is George one of the ones you thought would go with us? Yes, he is, Jake replied. George, how much food do you have? Michael asked him. About 2.5 years in the basement, plus what Marjorie has in the kitchen pantry. Vehicles? We have a Dodge 3500 with a snowplow kit, a Dodge Durango, trailers, RVs, a 14-foot toy hauler, and a 10-foot dump trailer, and an 18-foot camper trailer. ATV snowmobiles, 2 of each. Okay, Jake, Dan. Those are the things you need to know from those who are going. Mr. Peterson, you need to start packing all your food, work clothes, not suits or dress shoes, survival clothes, blankets, socks, underwear, medicines, only essentials. Then any propane tanks, gas cans, heaters, and such, tools, drills, saws, hammers, and the like. Oh yeah, if you got solar panels, we'll get those on a separate trip. Got it? Marjorie's already packing stuff. I'll get her and the kids going on the rest. What about our generator? That too. Michael turned around. Susan, hook up your big trailer. Jake, reload what food will fit in the back of it. Peyton, pack as much as you can into her travel trailer. Weapons, ammunition from here in the barn. Larry, go with your dad and start packing his trailer and truck. You'll be driving to my cabin in an hour. Kimberly, once your truck is loaded, hook up to Susan's travel trailer. Monica, pack your truck and travel trailer as quick as you can with as much as you can. Then hook the trailer up to your truck and pull it out of here. Everyone scattered to do what Michael had instructed him to do. Michael started packing weapons into the back of the Jeep. Once it was full, he hooked up to Monica's small trailer with the solar panels to it. He took down the panels and stored them inside the trailer, but left the power plugged in to keep the freezer cold. Then he turned down the temperature to its low setting and started packing everything else he could into the little trailer. In a half an hour, Susan's truck and trailer were full again. They were positioned at the end of the driveway behind Kimberly's truck with Susan's travel trailer. All right. Okay, Howie's gone. Just checking on it. I noticed there's a discrepancy between what I see on the StreamYard chat to what I see on the Gray Man Prepping YouTube channel screen. and what I see when I'm watching it from Camp Patton Family Compound. So I see the chat has different things in it, and some people are showing up in all of them, and some comments aren't showing up in all of them. So that's why I look around a bunch. All right. Kelly hooked up Monica's cargo trailer, which is still over 3/4 full with their supplies, to Jake's Chevy 3500 and backed it up to the small barn. Then Monica and Kimberly filled the rest with their belongings. Then George showed up with his Dodge 3500 and his 10-foot dump trailer. He had two ATVs in the bed of the pickup with gas cans, a bunch of other items. The dump bed had the dump trailer had 2 snowmobiles, a generator, a gas-powered welder, 3 oxygen bottles, and 2 acetylene bottles, hoses, welding leads, toolboxes, and a lot more miscellaneous items. Larry showed up a few minutes later with his dad's F-250, the 14-foot travel trailer they'd used earlier. In the bed of the truck was a snowmobile, a generator, and several toolboxes and several gas cans. In the trailer were another snowmobile, 2 ATVs, a dozen boxes of his family's belongings and food. Kelly asked Peyton to drive Jake's truck, and he agreed. Kimberly and Michael talked to those that were driving. They laid out a route to where highways 89 and 89A split. They headed out with Kimberly leading the way, then Susan followed by Monica, then Peyton driving Jake's Chevy 3500. Next was Larry and his dad's pickup, and Michael brought up the rear. Okay. All right. Things are getting exciting. Plans have suddenly went left. The prisoner rolled off his cot and under it as the earthquake intensified. He knew it wouldn't give much of any protection if a big piece of the cave roof fell or wall fell on it, but it would protect him from pieces weighing up to 75 pounds. 3 of the guards had died the evening before when a slab of the roof fell on them, and one of the other CHAM side chambers of the cave. There we go. Okay. The earthquake started just as it got completely dark outside and got worse closer to sunrise. He surmised that it was because of the location of the comet, or star of death, as his captors called it, in relation to them as the Earth rotated. From what he could tell from overheard conversations, the comet would hit or just miss the Earth in 2 or 3 days. If the earthquakes kept getting worse as the comet got nearer, then he would have to make his escape tomorrow or the next night. Otherwise, the cave would collapse on them all and he would die here. He had no intentions of dying after all he had endured. No, he had to get back home to his family. All right. They stopped only once, and that was in Flagstaff, to fuel up the vehicles and use the restrooms. It was 10 o'clock when they pulled into Jacob Lake. Michael keyed up his radio and told everybody they would fuel up in the morning. 10 minutes later, fuel up in the morning. Yeah, because it's 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, they would fuel up in the morning. Michael keyed up his fill up in the morning. 10 minutes later, they pulled into the Clark's driveway. When they got by a portable light trailer, the type used by construction companies. Janet stopped each driver and asked whose belongings they were hauling. Then she directed it to the appropriate cargo container. There were 3 more cargo containers sitting next to the ones that were already by the garage. The new ones had about 7 feet between each one. Hang on. Yeah. Michael pulled Monica's trailer around back and parked it in front of his and Kimberly's travel trailer. Monica parked her travel trailer behind it. Kimberly parked Susan's travel trailer next to hers and Michael's. Jake and Kelly's belongings were placed in front of the middle container of the 3 new containers. Then Peyton back Monica's cargo container up to. I need to change something up here. Yeah, there were. All right, change that from 3 to 6 more, because I know earlier I mentioned they had 10 more cargo containers, but some of them are elsewhere on the property. Peyton backed up Monica's cargo trailer to her two cargo containers. Monica's belongings, plural, that had been packed into her F-350 were placed in the cargo container that had Monica's furniture, and her food supplies were placed in the other one. Susan backed up to the first empty container, which was next to Monica's second container. Janet told her that was going to be hers. Larry backed up to the last container. His family's ATVs and snowmobiles were parked between it and Jake's container. Their other items were put into the container. George pulled his dump trailer around behind the cargo container and dropped it off. He said he wouldn't take it back because he had a much bigger trailer he needed to pull with his truck. Susan's and Monica's cargo containers took the longest to unload, even with the pallet floor jacks and the tractor and excavator moving pallets of food and supplies. Even though the majority were on pallets, there was still a lot that had been hand stacked in the trailers, and there's only so much room for people to work without getting in each other's way. So Michael and Larry set about unloading the weapons and ammunitions from the travel trailers and from the Jeep and the F-350s. They had several empty pallets from the toilet paper and paper towels that had been stacked on top of other supplies. They took time to stack the ammunition on pallets by caliber as much as possible. One pallet was all 10 millimeter. 2 others were Smith & Wesson 40, while another had 10 millimeter stacked on one side and Smith & Wesson 40 caliber on the other side. Only Monica's and Kimberly's private stock were placed on their own pallet and that one was placed in the garage. By the time they were done with the ammunition, the others would finish unloading the trailers. It was almost midnight. Benjamin had made sure that Monica's and Susan's travel trailers were plugged in and garden hoses run to provide them with water and power. They would take care of hooking up the septic tank later. Hours, as long as the holding tanks weren't overfilled. Larry, Peyton, and George were using Michael and Kimberly's travel trailer. Susan was staying in her own trailer. Kimberly would sleep in her mom's trailer unless she could convince Janet to let her sleep in Michael's room. After all, for the past week, she and Michael have been sleeping in Susan's trailer. Together in the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the same bed. Heck, for the last 3 nights, they zipped their sleeping bags together when they had been sleeping in each other's embrace. What would be the big deal of her sleeping beside Michael now? This was the logical conversation Kimberly was playing out to herself while she was showering. She also hoped that Janet would have gone to bed by the time she got out of the shower, and she could just slip into Michael's room for the night. Kimberly stepped out of the shower and dried off quickly and put her sports bra and boxer briefs. Put on her sports bra and boxer briefs and then her one-piece pajamas. She was working on drying her jet black hair. First, she worked it with a towel, squeezing the hair between the folds of the towel, not rubbing it. That would cause it to knot up. Then she worked it with a blow dryer. When it was dry, she pumped a couple sprays of conditioner on it and combed it through. Satisfied her hair wasn't going to be a rat's nest in the morning, she packed up her bag, put on her bathrobe, and opened the bathroom door. Kimberly squeaked out when she saw Janet leaning against the wall opposite the door, her arms folded across her chest. Have you been sleeping with Michael? Sleeping? Yes. Having sex? No. Kimberly answered, trying to get her heart rate back under control. Really? We're both still virgins, Kimberly said defiantly. Explain then. What, how we can sleep in the same bed and not have sex? Yes. Kimberly chuckled, set down her bag, opened her bathrobe. Janet threw open her bathrobe. EXPO, exposing the hang on, just the one-piece pajamas. Janet looked at it and snorted a laugh. The one-piece pajamas read, hands off, no copying a feeling. No copying a feel. Watch this. Kimberly turned off the bathroom light and stepped back into the darkness. It glows, Janet said with a laugh. Yeah, Michael hasn't done anything other than kiss me and gentle hugs in bed, except for this morning when the earthquake shook the truck. Then he hugged me tight. Kimberly breathed. There's something you have to understand. When you said that you had got certified as an online minister, it took away a lot of our anxiety. Not all, but a lot. We're no longer worried if we could get married. You kind of gave us your blessing too. We were able to relax more around each other. When I cuddle next to Michael in bed, I'm not thinking about maybe I should have sex with him just in case. I don't think that anymore. I just snuggle next to him, and then I relax and go to sleep feeling safe. Does that make any sense? Come here, Janet smiled. When Kimberly got close, Janet wrapped her arms around her and hugged her and said, yes, it does. How long have you been sleeping together? Well, the Thursday night after we left to find my mom I was in one room of my mom's trailer. Michael was in the other. She took a breath and looked at the floor. I was so stressed out and panicked about my mom I couldn't sleep. I went to him and asked him to hold me. When he did, I suddenly felt safe and relaxed. I just fell asleep next to him. The next couple of nights, we put our sleeping bags next to each other and slept side by side. I pushed close so I could feel him there. One night, we forgot to turn on the heater. The sleeping bag. It was very cramped but warm. We couldn't misbehave if we tried, Kimberly chuckled. The next day, Michael snuck off to Sholo and got me these pajamas. That night, we zipped our sleeping bags together, and we've been sleeping back to back, and we've been sleeping back to back ever since. Have you been staying back to back? Kimberly busted up laughing. No, according to Michael, he says I tossed and turned like a rodeo bronc, and flail my arms about like a mace and chain. I think I punched him once in the middle of the night. He swears I didn't, but he was favoring one side for half a day. So I cuddled next to him, pull an arm around me. He says I don't toss and turn that way. I don't toss and turn like that. Janet shook her head. Does he have any bad habits? If he lies on his back with a pillow lifting his head, he starts to snore like a lumberjack. Janet snorted and started laughing. And you still want to sleep in the same room? Of course. Sleeping next to him comforts me and makes me feel safe that things will work out. She paused and looked inquisitively at Janet. Can I sleep with him tonight? Well, you've had plenty of chances you haven't had to have sex, and you haven't, so I guess so. Thank you, Mama. If we can't wait for the 21 months to get married, we will come to you and get married before we boink. I didn't need to hear you talk about boinking, Janet blushed. Sorry, Kimberly. Kimberly hugged her and grabbed her toiletry bag and hurried off to Michael's room. Janet shook her head and went back to her own room. And Aiden's in the house. Woohoo! All right. Okay. I thought I started doing this partway through the book instead of having this go down starting its own page. So I'm going to have to go back after I get done reading everything and all the other sub chapters back here. I'm going to bump it up like this one is bumped up. That'll make it less pages in the book. It'll also eliminate a lot of half blank pages as well. Sunday, October 18th, the relocation of Alpine. Once again, Michael and Kimberly were shaken awake by the earth moving. This time it was much more intense than the day before. The shaking went on. As the shaking went on, his and Kimberly's embrace got tighter. He heard his mother calling out to them, asking if they were all right. Before he could respond, Kimberly shouted back to her, Mama, I want you to marry us as soon as this stops. What? Why? Janet asked in shocked confusion. I don't want to die a virgin, and I don't want to have sex until we're married, and I'm going to have sex with Michael today. Just in the shaking increased. Okay, God, I won't have sex with Michael today. After about several seconds, it suddenly stopped. Are you going to be okay? Michael asked Kimberly. I guess once we're married, I'll feel better. Really hate that. I got to get that security update deleted out of or uninstalled. All right. Kimberly said as she started to get out of the bed. Michael grabbed her and pulled her back to him. Kimberly, you know that I love you very much, right? Yes, and I love you. Then please don't get mad because we are not getting married today. Michael said as he wrapped his arm around her. Michael, I can't take this anymore. I can't. Even with being in your arms, the earthquakes just pushed me too far. The fear is too much. I need you more than just hugging, she cuddled. I need real intimacy. Yes, you can. You're Kimberly Ann Jackson, martial arts expert, ninja girl, the light of my life, and most importantly, you're Major Jackson's daughter. Kimberly pushed away and stared at Michael. The tears started coming to her eyes as she chewed on her lips. Damn you for being so sensible, and thank you for being so loving. She moved in and hugged him tightly. Are you sure we will make it? Yes, we'll make it. We may have to fight and may have to kill bad guys, but we will make it. We're Marines, he said as he caressed her back. My dad would stomp your butt for claiming that. Really? You mean he wouldn't drag me down to the recruiter office and make me enlist? Yeah, he might make you do that. I wish he could. Me too. I would really like to have met him. I think he would have liked you. There was a knock on the bedroom door. Are you ready to get now? Janet asked with a hint of disappointment in her voice. Yes and no. We're talking it out. Glad to hear that, Janet said, and she shuffled down the hall to the kitchen. Glad to hear that, sort of. Janet said as she shuffled down the door to the kitchen. Did she say sort of? Kimberly asked Michael. I think so, Michael replied, very puzzled. Kimberly pushed herself off the bed and ran to the door, taking the top sheet and blankets with her. Mrs. Clark, wait! She threw the door open, hurried into the hall, looking both ways, saw Janet by the kitchen. Wait! She ran to her. What did you mean, sort of? Janet smiled lovingly. You two are driving us crazy. We don't know if you're going to make it 22 months or ask us to let you get married sooner, or you're just going to say the heck with it and start boinking. With the latter of the two choices, I don't know what it will be to push you beyond your limit. Earthquakes, Kimberly interjected. They scare the hell out of me. Pardon my French. Janet giggled and hugged Kimberly. They scare the hell out of me, too. Just then, the cabin lurched and began shaking. Janet and Kimberly hugged tighter, and Michael staggered into the hallway. Kimberly was shaking as she held tightly to Janet. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. The entire time the earthquake was happening. Janet replied to Kimberly, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, as she held her. After a couple seconds, Benjamin entered the hallway. Here we go again, he shouted as he bounced from wall to wall, from one wall to the other. Okay, all right, so 2 hours here. All right. Water time. Got to keep the throat moist. And let me try to get the gunk out of my eyes. So a Kleenex here. You know, I really should have done this when the weather was warmer. This much reading and with the dry as it is, really gets to my eyes. About 15 seconds after about 15 seconds, the shaking subsided to a mild vibration, which lasted for another 30 seconds or so before it stopped. Michael walked over to his adopted mom and Kimberly. Are you two okay? Yes, Janet smiled weakly. Hell no, I peed my pajamas, Kimberly snapped and turned to face him. I hate earthquakes. I just hate them. Other than your nerves being shut, are you physically okay? No cuts, bumps, or bruises? No, but I need to go change. She turned and headed towards the bathroom. Do you need anything from your mom's trailer? Janet asked. Hang on, I need an extra space there. I need Mama. Do you have some Depends? And she snickered. I'm going to need a supply as long as these earthquakes continued. Janet started laughing, and Benjamin spun around and headed towards the back door. I'm going to check on everyone else. I check on everyone in the trailers. Michael shook his head and headed back to the bedroom. I'm going to get dressed while you wash up. Let me grab my clothes first, Kimberly said as she ran past Michael. I'll get some water going and cook up some sausages. Cook up some sausage links, Janet said. Okay. All right. At breakfast, it was decided that Monica would stay in the cabin, and Michael would leave the Jeep and take Kimberly's F-350 utility box. Kimberly would drive Monica's F-350, now without a trailer, and tow the Clark's 14-foot cargo trailer. Benjamin would go and take his F-450 with their 14-foot dump trailer on it. With their 14-foot dump trailer, Peyton would drive Jake's truck with Monica's cargo container. Susan would take her F-650 and 38-foot fifth-wheel race car trailer. Michael would stop in Flagstaff and get as many propane tanks as he could fit in the utility box. Janet and Monica were going to take a trip into Kanab and do the same. They would try to get 2 trailer-mounted tanks as well. If they could get the trailer tanks and the dealer had more, they would make a second trip. By noon, Janet and Monica had 6 trailer-mounted tanks, 38 20-pound tanks, and 27 40-pound tanks, and 8 100-pound tanks. They used the trailer for the John Deere excavator for the 40 and 100-pound tanks. Michael stopped at the propane dealer on the way to Flagstaff, picked up 23 100-pound tanks. The tanks completely filled the covered utility box. He also got some extra fittings, multi-tank connectors, as well as several long hoses to hook up the travel trailer to the cabin's propane system. Travel trailers to the cabin propane system. Then he stopped at a fabric store to check for some camouflage material for something he had a wild idea about. He was surprised to find they had exactly what he wanted, and it was on sale. The salesperson said it was ordered by mistake and nobody wanted it. He took it all. As he was loading up, he saw a similar truck to Susan's, but it was towing a travel trailer He saw a similar truck and trailer to Susan's, but it was towing a travel trailer too. Michael quickly called Susan and told her what he saw, asked if she could tow Jake's 16-foot stock trailer behind her trailer. Easy, she said, easily, no problem. Good, I'm getting another trailer. Michael headed towards the trailer store at the edge of Flagstaff. On the way, he called Janet to check how much money was available on the credit card he had. After Michael got the new trailer, he called his dad and told him his plan and what he had bought. Benjamin smiled and said, "Good job." As Michael drove towards Alpine, he noticed the smoke. The smoke rising from Escadilla Mountain was slightly larger. Was slightly larger in volume and a little blacker than it had been yesterday. Now it looked more like smoke from a fire. He would have to ask Jake if he heard anything about it. It was almost 1 o'clock when Michael got to Jake's. He stopped a half a block away and unhooked the automatic safety hitch system and the 36-foot 4-axle fifth wheel trailer that he just bought. He pulled forward 40 feet and parked. As he walked up the driveway, Kimberly walked over to him and gave him an update. Larry had gone back to his dad's with Dan's truck and trailer. Peyton had also gone with Jake's Chevy and Monica's trailer, which he unhooked from Jake's truck, then brought the truck back to Jake. Dan was going to tow Monica's trailer. Hey, hang on. Monica's trailer with a 3/4 ton pickup. Got to make sure who's towing. Make sure I still have it right. Make sure I had it right from when I laid it all out before. At Jake's, the rest of the ammunition and military supplies were being loaded into Benjamin's F-450 and dump trailer. The extra space would be filled with a couple pallets of animal feed. Susan's trailer was backed up to the side door of Jake's house, and his family was busy loading all their canned food and bulk packaged foods. Then they would load clothing and other personal items. Then she would hook up to Jake's stock trailer to haul his cattle. Three of the relatives staying at Jake's had opted to stay on the farm rather than rough it out at the campground during the winter. They were currently helping Jake and Kelly load their belongings. As soon as the caravan pulled out, two of them were moving their RVs into the small barn. The other family, Jake's sister, would be staying in the house. Her travel trailer was between the house and the garage, and would be staying there. The other travel trailer and other 3 RVs were going to the campground. Those family were busy getting ready to go, packing their RVs, cars, and pickups and trailers. Some would be going to the cabin today. The others would be going tomorrow when they return for another load. Michael hugged her. "Are you great or what?" "Both." "What'd you get?" "Several things." "Like what?" 2,300-pound propane tank. "Dang, that's a lot of propane." "Not really. We have a 2,000-gallon underground propane tank and a 1,000-gallon propane above ground propane tank. A 100-gallon tank won't last one of the trailers through the winter, but 2 tanks will. But they still have to limit showers to once a week. What about us?" "Since the news broke, we've bought enough solar panels to be totally electric. But the water heater is a tankless propane one. But We got an electric under the sink water heater for the kitchen. Each room has an electric oil space heater, so we don't have to use the furnace. Oh, and we have a wood-burning stove, a wood-burning heating stove, and a wood-burning cook stove, and a couple of wood-burning pot-belly stoves for heating the garage, and containers for using for the rabbit hutch and chicken coops. Do you have a wood-burning water heater? Not yet, but I have some plans for one that I downloaded. Good, we need to see about building a bathhouse for the campground. That's a great idea. Oh, I almost forgot. I picked up some camouflage material for us. I want my mom to make you a camo ninja outfit for the snow and one for the summer. That way your black won't stand out against the snow or the woodlands. What about your arrow outfit? That too, Michael blushed. I got 20 yards of each snow and desert patterns. Cool. I also bought a 36-foot a 36-foot deck tilt flatbed fifth wheel trailer with an automatic safety hitch system, so any 1 ton or bigger can tow it. My dad and I are swapping trailers for the return trip. Hey, Michael. Jake called out as he trotted across the yard to him. I need to talk to you. What's up? Besides my family's, Dan's family and his 1 extra family and George's 2 extra families, there are only 2 other families that are willing to go to the campground for the winter. 6 others said they're afraid of running short of food and heat for the winter. They might come up in the spring, but it's just too short notice. That's not going to be an option. There are 2 groups the 2 groups planning there. The 2 groups are planning to shut down the road if anything bad happens in the cities. The roads may be blocked off by then, Michael said, shaking his head. The dam could get damaged and collapse, and that would most likely take out the only 2 crossings for hundreds of miles. They would have to go north to Moab, Kimberly said. If it goes, what about to the south? Jake asked before he realized the answer. If the Glen Canyon Dam goes, then all the water will go downstream, gouging out the riverbanks till it gets to Hoover Dam. If Hoover Dam is still standing, then all that water from Glen Canyon, from Glen Canyon Dam, when all that water from Glen Canyon Dam hits it, the water will go over it and wash it out. Then when Hoover Dam goes, every dam and crossing down to the Gulf of California will be washed out. I'll tell them, Jake said. No, Michael said quickly. They made their choice. We've risked too much in dragging someone who doesn't want to go along with us. If they can make it to us in the spring or summer, and they have supplies to get through the next winter, they can join up. That's hard, Jake sighed. I know, but we have to watch out for ours first. And what if they decide to come on their own in a day or 2 after we leave? We'll have to set up a frequency for them to contact us on so we can go meet them and guide them in, Kimberly said, as she figured out in her mind how they might check who was coming without giving their location at Jacob Lake. But we won't give it to them until tomorrow when we pull out on the final trip. And we'll do it one family at a time, not as a group. And tell them not to share it with anyone, I suppose, Jake inquired. That's right, Michael said. Now, how long until your family's ready to go? That's another thing I want to talk to you about, our cattle. We have about 30 acres fenced off that you can run them with ours until we get another area fenced off for you. Okay, I'll get them loaded into the stock trailer. Is there any room left in any of the other trailers? Michael asked. Jake smiled, bobbed his head, bobbed his head. I'll fill it with more alfalfa. Don't. I have a 36-foot flatbed trailer I just bought. My dad is going to drop his dump trailer in the street and hook up to it, and then you can load the alfalfa on it, Michael said. If the other trailers are packed, if the others are all packed, get them help too. The quicker we get out of here, the quicker we get up there to unpack, Kimberly said. Just then, George came speeding down the street and into Jake's driveway, skidding to a halt on the gravel, hopped up and ran over to him. Jake, we have trouble. What is it? Jake glanced around, half expecting to see what the trouble was. Escadilla Mountain, George rasped out. It's on fire. The fire on it was caused by a fissure that opened up yesterday. That's where the smoke was coming from. Only yesterday it wasn't smoke, it was steam. Hold on a second, Jake said, putting a hand on Joe's shoulder to steady him. During the earthquake this morning, some lava came out and started a fire. But yesterday it was just steam that we were seeing. Now it's steam and ash from the fissure and fire and from the fissure and smoke from the fire. The fire is only a couple of acres, but it could get worse if more lava comes out tomorrow morning. Jake, go get the cattle loaded, Michael said. George, have you told anybody else? Just Dan. George, we could have a problem. Jake said that only 2 others from the core group were willing to go right now. The others haven't packed anything, no food or provisions. If they just grab a few items and follow us, we may run short of food if we try to help them. You understand it? Yeah, that's why I came straight here. So far, only Barney and Steve down at the Forest Service know about it. They're headed back up there right now to put the fire out and monitor the fissure until some science guys from the university get here from Tempe. Are you all packed? Yeah, we're ready to go. What about Dan's family? Are they ready to go? They were just tying down the tarp on his trailer. Okay, if they're ready to go, then you guys go ahead and head out. Tell Larry we'll meet you guys at the Maverick where we filled up. Got it, George. Turned and ran back. George turned and ran back to his pickup. This is bad, isn't it? Kimberly said, more than asked. Probably is. It could be worse, but it's definitely not good. Tomorrow, I don't think so, Michael sighed. Go tell the families that we're going to wait until tomorrow, that we most likely will not be coming back. If they want to go, we're leaving in half an hour. Tell them why and not to tell anyone else. Not to tell anyone else. Hang on, tell anyone else. Then Michael took off to where Jake was loading the cattle. Jake, he yelled, change the plans. When Michael got to explain, when Michael got to Jake, he explained, we're not coming back tomorrow. With the earthquakes getting worse any day, tomorrow's earthquake may lead to an eruption. We don't feel it's worth the risk. Okay, give me 10 minutes to load the cattle, and then we'll load the alfalfa. I'm gonna help my dad swap the trailers. Swap the trailers, Michael said. Then, as if the cosmos had agreed with Michael, an earthquake shook the ground, and it dropped and shook the ground, and it dropped. It dropped a couple inches, and then the shaking stopped. What was that? I'll tell you later. Michael ran off to get his dad to swap the trailers. As he reached the F-450, he saw several people pointing at Euclid Mountain. He turned and looked to see what they were staring at so intently. What he saw caused his heart to skip a beat and climb into his throat. A white-gray mushroom cloud rose up from where the steam and smoke had been were coming from on the mountain. "Oh shit," Michael said softly and turned and waved to his dad to pull out onto the street. 45 minutes later, they were on the road heading towards Flagstaff. They caught up with those that left with George and Dan just before Winona. They fueled up on the Maverick on the north side of Flagstaff before continuing on to Jacob Lake. While they were there, fueling, and put that in there, fueling, the families that were going to come tomorrow and 4 families of the core group that were going to wait until spring pulled in. Between their first and second trip to next section, here got the dots. Between their first and second trip to get propane, the next set of cargo containers arrived. For this time, Janet had these dropped on the left side of the house, opposite from the garage and the other container. Janet had the driver space the containers 12 feet apart, so RVs or travel trailers could be parked between them if they had to. On their next trip to get propane tanks, Monica and Janet stopped at Jacob Lake Inn and talked to Bob about the old Kaibab camper village. It turned out that the bank had foreclosed on it 2 years ago before, and they were desperately trying to unload it. He called his cousin in Kanab, who worked for the bank. After a 10-minute conversation, the cousin agreed to come out with the paperwork to transfer title. They were surprised to find that besides the campground, which had an office, it had a 130,000-gallon water tank and a 70 by 120 two-bay maintenance building and a single-wide mobile home. The property included the grazing land just to the south of the Kaibab camper village, which also included Jacob Lake itself. The lake was more of a supersized cow pond. They had all the paperwork and signed, and Bob, who was a notary, notarized everything and made copies for him. The banker said he would file the papers and email him PDF copies of the filing. Janet had set up several S corporations and LLCs when they had bought the cabin. She used one of these to buy the Kaibab camper village and made notations to the structure of that one online to show Monica Jackson as chief financial officer. Monica had ownership couldn't be traced to her very easily. The banker had gone about 20 minutes when they were in front of the Jacob Lake Inn talking to Bob and his family when the next 4 containers arrived. Janet flagged them down and stopped them and let the lead driver know that this and future loads were going to a different location. She and Monica hopped in the Jeep Wagoneer and led them to the Kaibab camper village. Janet had them drop the containers along the east side of the property where Forest Service 282 ran past on its way towards the Clark's property. She had them set the first one. She had them set the first one. Hang on, this sentence I got to fix here. First one. So I swear I had this put in here before. So the front was 50. Hang on, this is all backwards and stuff here. So yeah, because I fixed this once before. I don't know what happened here. Okay, she had him set so the back was 15 feet. Front was 15 feet from the front of the maintenance building. Sorry, I'm trying to get this figured out here. We lost some people. She had him set so the okay, yeah, I got to fix this right here. Okay, the front end with outdoors. It was in the front of the maintenance building. Yeah, I got to move some things around here a lot. And 3 feet from the fence. From the fence. Got the spells right here. Okay, here we go. I got it. I'm getting it fixed here now. The end with the doors was 1, 2, 3 was 12 feet away from the fence. I can just delete this other piece here, this all together. All right, she had them set so the first one so that the end with outdoors was 15 feet from the front of the maintenance building and 3 feet from the fence. The end with the doors was 12 feet away from the fence. The next container was backed in at the same angle between the fence and the front of the first container, so they overlapped about 22 feet. And its front was also 12 feet from the fence. And they dropped the rest of the containers the same way. Janet told them that the next 4 would continue the pattern. They wanted as many as they could get for, up to 24. She also told them that there was a $200 bonus for every container they could deliver today, no matter how late into the night. The lead driver called his office and let them know. When the drivers had left, Monica and Janet and Monica checked out the maintenance building and the single-wide mobile home. Neither one of them had power or water. The power meter for both was gone, and a blank cover had been placed over the meter box by the power company. The water is provided by the well and the huge tank on the other side of the property. They agreed they would check that out later. The maintenance building had been The maintenance building had an outside connection for a generator, which was gone. The male twist lock plug receptacle said it was rated for 400 amps, and next it was a transfer switch. When the power meter that was a transfer switch was a transfer switch, comma, comma. Then the power meter and then the main service breakers. There we go. Now it makes sense. The transfer switch selected whether power was drawn from the meter or the generator. They went inside to check on the breaker panel, see if there was another generator hookup that they could use to power the lights at least. What they found was an extension cord pigtail hanging from the light switch box, and the conduit from the light switch box ran in two directions. One they could see went to the light fixtures, and the other went to the big breaker box on the opposite side of the wall near the where the 400 amp breaker receptacle was on the outside. Monica noticed that the breaker for the lights was turned off and had a lockout tag on it, said generator set in use, do not turn on. The breaker said it was a 30 amp breaker. Well, it looks like we can hook up Dan's generator and get the lights on. Monica said, that's good news. Let's check out the well pump and see if if it has a generator pump that we can use to fill the water tank. Janet said, you think the pump will still run? I don't know. If it's covered, it should, but I'm more worried about how deep the well is and if the foot valve is still intact. Foot valve? Yeah, at the bottom of the draw pipe is a check valve that keeps the water from draining down out of the pipe when the pump is shut off. It keeps the pump primed with water so it doesn't burn out trying to draw water up from the well, Janet explained. Wow, I didn't know that. Our well never gave us a problem in the 4 years we had it. A good foot valve will last 10 years or more depending on the mineral content of the water and if it's used regularly. However, this place hasn't been used for 3 years. It may have corroded away. How do we check? Well, if the pump has a generator connection, we can go get a generator and several buckets of water. We'll reprime the draw pipe and see if it holds water. We'll start the pump and begin. We'll reprime. We'll reprime the draw pipe, and if it holds water, we'll start the pump and begin filling the tank. That sounds easy, Monica. That sounds easy. Monica stopped short when she saw the water tank. That is one big tank, 130 gallons, Janet said. Yeah, I just didn't realize it'd be that big. Well, it looks like the pump. That looks like a pump shed. Monica pointed to a clump of trees. Yep, that looks about right. All right. The earthquake shook more violently than any before. He could hear his captors yelling, and some of them fled out of the tunnels of the cave. He could hear the additional sounds of breaking rock falling from the roof of the cave. Some made sharp cracks as they impacted stone, while others he could tell were landing on tables and crates. A few made the sounds of impacting on bodies. That made him smile. Each one was another that he would not have to deal with. Suddenly the door to his cell groaned and popped off its hinges. but remained upright, pinched somewhere in the doorframe. The prisoner rolled from under his cot and made him pulled himself up to his feet. To keep his balance, he was walking like a basketball player trying to steal a dribbled ball. He made his way to the door and jumped against it and knocking it down onto the guard on the other side. He grabbed a rock and smashed it on the head of the stunned guard, killing him. Then he crawled off the door and picked up the semi-automatic rifle the guard had dropped. They moved towards the larger main room of the cave system, where his captors usually congregated. Quickly looking around, he saw there was no one else alive in the room. However, there were several dead bodies with their weapons still laying by them, and several other weapons that had been left by those fleeing to get outside. The earthquake began to subside as he gathered up the weapons and extra magazines for them. He took the two best automatic weapons and that had the most magazines that would work in them. He slung them across his back and pocketed as many magazines as he could. Then he gathered up what food supplies he could and stuffed them into a large cloth bag and slung it over his shoulder. He grabbed two auto pistols and stuffed them into his belt. The earthquake had stopped, and he knew that the others would soon return inside. He spotted a case of grenades and smiled. He quickly shoved three of them into his shirt and placed the case on top of two other grenades and carefully pulled the pins so the weight of the case held the pin spoons in place. Next, he picked up three more of the better-looking automatic weapons left in the room and made his way towards the mouth of the cave. He calculated there were only about 15 of the terrorists in the cave, and there were four that pieces of rock had fallen on and killed some of them, plus the one he'd killed. That left 10 outside that he had to deal with. He hoped the others had been killed. Others had been killed in other parts of the cave, but he wasn't counting on it. He rounded the corner of the tunnel to the entrance and saw 30 feet into the opening beyond was blocked by 8 men walking down towards him. He had two automatic rifles up and ready as he made his way out, and they had their rifles up, and they had their rifles slung hanging at their sides. There was no way they would survive his attack. He pulled the trigger on both rifles, and in 2 seconds, all 8 men were dead in the tunnel. He dropped the 2 empty rifles and slung the third up to the ready position. 2 more outside, he thought to himself as he rushed towards the entrance. As he reached it, you could see 3 men standing outside by the fire pit. They were staring hard at the tunnel opening, trying to see what was going on inside. Their night vision had been ruined by the fire they stood next to, and they could not make out next to, and as such, dang it. And as such, you could not make out any movement in the tunnel. He flipped the selector switch to single shot and lined up on the head of the man on the right. He squeezed the trigger and quickly moved to the next man and squeezed the trigger. Next man squeezing the trigger as soon as the man's head filled the sights of the rifle. The third man was starting to fire wildly, and one of those shots rang as it ricocheted off the tunnel walls and passed by the prisoner. The prisoner flipped the switch to full auto as he drove to the floor. 3 of his shots stitched the remaining man up the torso, killing him. With all the terrorists that he believed were there. Okay, that's this mixed up one. Hang on, let me straighten this one out. Of all the terrorists that he believed were there, with all the terrorists that he believed were there now dead, he slowly worked his way to the opening. Okay, yeah, it sounds a little bit better. All righty. Oh, we're up to 6. Hey, everybody. Just working on the novel here. Now, feel free to say hi in the chat. He waited for several minutes in case there was another one or two outside. Then he crawled out of the cave along the edge of the mountain slope and the area in front of the cave until he was 60 feet or so away from the cave. He waited another 5 minutes to see if anyone moved towards the cave. The earth shook again as another earthquake started. 5 seconds into the quake, the case of grenades shifted and one of the spoons came free. 3 seconds later, a terrific explosion erupted from the mouth of the cave. So great was the explosion that the rush of air from the inside the cave blew out the fire in the fire pit. Blew the fire in the fire pit out. Yeah, I got to get my words right here, folks. Sorry. I apologize. Oh, we're down to 4. Sensing rather than hearing, because the noise of the earthquake, because of the noise of the earthquake, rocks shifting above him on the mountainside. He began to make his way out into the open area on the far side of the pit as rocks came down the side of the mountain and landed where he was moments before. Once there, he scanned the area for any other movement. Seeing none, he continued to where he saw several vehicles. One of them was the car that they had used to transport him in. Then he spotted the one he wanted, a 4-wheel drive compact pickup. He hurried over to it, walking like a basketball player again, opened the door, and turned the key just enough to see the gate, just enough to activate the man. Wow, my eyes are getting blurry on me here. I'm bouncing from line to line. Here we go. All right, now I can see better. He reached in and turned the key just enough to activate the gauges. He smiled broader when the gauges showed that the truck was over 3/4 full. The shaking began to stop, and he sighed in relief. He was getting tired of these earthquakes. He shucked his scrounged gear into the cab and took a look in the bed of the truck. 4 gas cans, he shook them and found 3 of them were full. The 4th was about a third full. There was a camouflage net, 3 cans of water, a case of MREs, British, shovels, and some tarps. This will do, he said to himself, and looked around in the moonlight. He identified several mountain peaks. Gizar Air Base in Pakistan, which was by his reckoning about 130 miles north of his current position. Then it dawned on him. He looked back up at the moon. Only there wasn't a moon, there were 2 moons. One to the east where he expected the moon to see the moon. That was just a sliver of a fingernail shape. The other was a bit to the south. This one was a full moon that was a quarter of the size of the normal moon. The comet, he realized, hang on, I got to. The comet, he realized, was coming straight at them. Get rid of that, because he didn't see a tail for it. Then it dawned on him. Not a comet, but an asteroid. Damn it, he shouted out loud. I am not going the way of the dinosaurs. He hopped into the cab and started the pickup, dropped into gear, and took off toward Gizar Air Base. Benjamin led the caravan into the Kaibab camper village at 8:15 and was surprised to see the office lit up and bright lights coming from the maintenance building. Janet and Monica were waiting at the first Y in the campground. They had maps of the campground, and each map had a space circled on it, and the name of the family they assigned to that space, and the space number as well as a cargo container that went with that space. They directed Benjamin to go around to the mobile home by the maintenance building, where Bob was waiting to guide him in parking the trailer of alfalfa. They told Susan to follow Benjamin around, but to drop Jake's stock trailer next to the water tank, and then go to the maintenance building and use the right bay. Michael came in last with their 14-foot dump trailer. Janet told him to go back beyond the mobile home by the maintenance building and back into the left bay and to unload the animal feed. Everyone was instructed to be at the maintenance building at 9 o'clock for an informal meeting. When everyone had finished setting up their RV or travel trailer, they started moving some of the supplies to their own cargo container. About 20 minutes to 9, a small earthquake hit. It measured 2.2 on the Richter scale, but it was still strong enough to get everybody to the maintenance building by 10 minutes to 9. Janet and Monica had found 2 storage rooms in the back. Okay, 2 storage rooms in the back, south side of the maintenance building, and 2 classrooms on the west side wall that had the power breaker panels on it. The front classroom was numbered the front classroom was numbered 2 and was empty. The back classroom was numbered 1 and had 2 dozen 8-foot and several dozen folding chairs. The storage room in the back southeast corner was numbered 1. Okay, just making sure I had it right here. It was numbered 1 and had more tables in it. It also had 2 6,500 watt tri-fuel generators. One was now out at the pump house powering the pump, and it was hooked up to a pair of 40-pound propane tanks. The other generator was powering the lights of the maintenance building. They had set up 10 of the folding tables in a trapezoid shape with 4 chairs per table. As people started showing up, they were directed to take a seat. On the long side, sat from left to right Dan Robinson. Sorry. Dan Robinson, his wife Debbie, Larry Robinson, Peyton Grimm, Susan Hampton, Monica Jackson, Janet Clark, Benjamin Clark, Kimberly Jackson, Michael Moore, and Kelly Jefferson. Hang on a second here. Let me wipe the goop out of my eyes again. Oh, we got 5 people in here. Guys, feel free to make a comment. Just say hi. And yes, you gotta be a subscriber for 5 minutes because I've had trolls coming in trying to post nasty stuff. When everyone was seated, Janet took a hammer that Michael had provided for her and wrapped on a block of wood that Benjamin had found. The assembly quieted down. Greetings, everyone. I'm Janet Clark, Michael's adopted mother. I'm pretty sure everyone knows Michael. Everyone nodded and a few chuckled. I'm the chairman of the board for the corporation that owns Kaibab Camper Village. Monica Jackson is the CFO. Before we begin, I would like everyone to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about yourself, what skill set you have. I'll begin. I've been a foster mother for over 20 children. Michael was our last foster child we had. We adopted him earlier this year. I also ran an accounting business from home. I had a rather large backyard garden. I grew up on a 10-acre farm, raised chickens, pigs, and 2 milk cows. Monica got up next, then Susan, and they went around the table counterclockwise. While introductions were going on, Kimberly leaned over to Kimberly leaned over to Benjamin and asked him to skip her so she could go last. He looked inquisitively. He looked at her inquisitively, then nodded yes. After Benjamin did his introduction, Kimberly stood up. I'm Kimberly Jackson. Monica is my mother. Michael is my fiance. My father was Major James Jackson, United States Marine Corps. Hang on, I need to put the full thing in here. FOU. 4th Forcon. He started training me when I was 4 years old. At age 7, I started training in Jeet Kune Do, the martial art developed by Bruce Lee. I am a 3rd level instructor. I am a master of bow and katana. I am now proficient in firearms. She took a deep breath. Everyone here believes that because the asteroid is going to cause everyone here believes that because of the asteroid, things are going to get very bad. I've talked to most of you about that and what your take is on it. Even with what we've even with what we have started to even with what we saw start to happen with the volcano in Alpine, I believe that most of your perceptions are going to fall short, far short of what is really going to happen. We will have to fight to survive. Now, the Clarks, my mom, and Susan, but we'll be here to help you as much as we can. But it's up to you to accept the fact that you need to get hard so you can save your families. If you don't and you put my families in danger or they get hurt because of you, she held up a 4x12 block she had on the table and punched it so hard that it practically exploded. Heaven and hell will not be able to keep you from taking vengeance on you. When she sat down, Larry and Peyton stood up and started clapping. Semper Fi, Larry said. Hardcore Marine, Peyton said. Hoorah, shouted George as he stood up and joined the clapping. Susan and Monica also joined in. A few seconds later, Janet wrapped her hammer on the blockwood and to quiet the room. I love you too. Oh, Kimberly, I love you too. Several people chuckled. Then she continued. There are a few items of information we need to go over with you about the campground and the Jacob Lake area. First off, we just bought the Kaibab Camper Village. It was foreclosed on 2 years ago and wasn't used officially for the year before that. There is no grid, power, or water. As you can hear, we are using a generator to power the lights in here. None of the receptacles have power to them yet. We have another generator powering the well pump to get the water tank filled. We are hoping to have enough water by noon to be able to flush out the campground's water lines so we can provide water to every camp space, to provide every camp space with water, with pressurized water. Sorry, I'm just getting tired here. I've been at this for 3 hours. That may take a couple of days to fill the tank high enough to do that. As far as power goes, we have not been able to contact the power company to get the power turned on. There we are. There's where I'm at. When we do, there's no telling how long the grid will be up, but we will contact them tomorrow morning. Hang on here. Morning, MORNING, tomorrow morning. In the meantime, if you have a generator that runs on propane, we have extra bottles, but supplies are limited. If your generator can support 2 or 3 other trailers or RVs, please do so. If everyone has a generator, then I recommend you pair up and rotate generator use. This will help the generators last longer. We will leave that part up to you. Other power news. We found an old military diesel generator in the south storage room number 1 back in the back of the building. If anyone has knowledge of how to use it, please see me after the meeting and we'll check it out and see if you can get it running. If we're able to get it running, we'll get a diesel fuel storage tank tomorrow. That should keep us in power through the winter and the spring. Now for sanitation. We have no idea if the septic system works. So with that in mind, please don't hook up to it until we can test it out tomorrow. If anybody is a plumber, Please see Benjamin after the meeting. That is all I have have on my to-do list. Monica, thank you, Janet. I want to go over some campground etiquette. First and foremost, no shooting firearms within the campground fence line unless we're under attack. No shooting squirrels, birds, opossums, raccoons, or coyotes. Exceptions are Lieutenant Larry Robinson and Staff Sergeant Peyton Grimm. And when visiting the campground and visiting the camp GROUN, visiting the campground, Juby Chan the Ninja Girl and Archer the Super Scout. Monica bit her lip to stop from laughing, and Kimberly did not disappoint. Mom, I am not Juby Chan the Ninja Girl up here. Yes, you are, came a little girl's voice from the doorway. Kimberly looked over and shouted, Marcy, Linda. She jumped up from her seat at the table and ran around the tables over to them. By the time she got to Marcy and Linda, Greg, Lisa, and Nora had stepped through the door. Hey, guys, what are you doing here? We were with Uncle Bob when your mom bought this place. We wanted to come welcome you guys with homemade cookies, Marcy said, gesturing to a container her mom held. Yes, Lisa, the girls spent most of the day baking. Them, not me, Nora said. Kimberly laughed. Ouch, I can feel the love. That's not what I meant, Nora started to press. I don't, not like you. I'm just teasing, girlfriend, she smiled. Come on over and grab some chairs. We just came to drop these off. No buts. Kimberly hurried back over to her chair. Larry was now talking. So if you see an animal threat, shout out so everyone can hear. That way those who are authorized can quickly deal with the situation. Don't fire any warning shots to scare the animal off, because the bullet you shoot up with a warning shot will come down and could kill someone. And let me change the emphasis around and add the tilts to it. There we go. You don't want to have that guilt on your conscience, as well as a certain someone's wrath, Michael emphasized. Now, Monica spoke again. Just like in Alpine, where everyone was helping out for community protection, you'll be expected to do the same. The one bonus we have here, from what I've been told, is Highway 89A is not nearly as traveled as the highways through Alpine. Also, they've made arrangements with the people of Marble Canyon to close off the bridge that crosses the Colorado River. And we, the people of Jacob Lake, will block the highway 13 miles to the west where it cuts through the hills. They get rock slides there. They get rock slides there, and and it'll be easy, I'm told, to block it in several spots. What the residents here would like us to do is to work with them in their preparations in securing the area. Tomorrow, Bob Miller and a couple of the others in charge are coming to talk with us about what we can do to help out. A hand went up. Yes, Agnes, Monica said dryly. How soon will the roads be blocked off? Can we get more food tomorrow? Agnes asked, abhorring having to get information from her second cousin. From what Bob told me earlier today, they don't plan on closing the roads until after the asteroid passes. And the asteroid passes and the trailing asteroids have cleared the Earth, Monica said. You can go into Fredonia or Kanab for simple shopping. Excuse me if I may, Lisa asked as she held up a finger. Yes, Lisa, Monica acknowledged her. If you want to get a lot of stuff, you need to go to St. George. It's about an hour and 40 minutes away. They have a Costco and several Walmart supercenters and several food storage places. Shannon took me there last week. So it's still safe to go there? Agnes asked, hopefully. It was last week. I don't know if things have turned bad yet or not, Lisa said. I'll check the news feeds and the online police blotter to see what the situation is like and let everybody know in the morning. I would recommend that no one goes by themselves. 2 or 3 vehicles with 2 or 3 per vehicle at least, just in case. Michael interjected. I agree, Larry added. Now is not the time to take risks. If some of you decide to go, please make sure your spouse knows your concerns knows your concerns for the meeting tomorrow at noon. Else we we will be discussing what else we have been able to find out. Find out about what is working here, what needs to be fixed. Also, if you're going to St. George, write down your concerns so your spouse doesn't forget. More than a few chuckles came from the wives. If anybody goes, I would recommend you stop at a military surplus store or hunting store and get some MCCUUs or BDUs, also winter clothing, boots. If you have a trailer, I would get an extra freezer or 2. Then when we hunt deer or bear, there is a lot of meat to sorry, I would get an extra freezer or 2. When we hunt deer or bear, there will be a lot of meat to freeze or can, Kimberly added. I believe we have covered everything that was on our list. I know that everyone is tired and most of you have stuff you still want to get done tonight. So unless somebody has something that can't wait until tomorrow, I think we're done for now. She looked around the table and rapped her hammer on a block of wood in front of her. The Harpers have brought cookies for everyone, Kimberly said quickly. Oohs and ahs came from several of the men. Kimberly and Michael stood and went over to the Harpers. So how are you guys getting along, Michael asked. A lot better if you hadn't told us to get out of Tempe, Greg answered. What do you mean? I was talking to one of our friends. Talking to one of my friends down there. And she said a gang committed several home invasions one night. They killed the homeowners. Our home was one of the ones they hit, but we'd already left. Lisa said, starting to tear up. You saved us. Yeah, we would have been dead if you hadn't come back over to our table that morning, Greg said. Well, if Marcy and Linda hadn't been staring at me, I wouldn't come over in the first place, Kimberly said. Great, Nora groaned. Now I own the dweebs my life. Nora, Linda snapped. I know, but they're going to bug me about it, Nora whined. No, they're not. Are you? Kimberly asked sternly of the twins. No, we won't, Juby-chan. The twins answered together, and they looked at the floor. Better? Kimberly asked Nora. Thanks. Are you really going to, are you ready to start learning to shoot? Kimberly asked with a smile. You're serious about teaching me? Nora asked, surprised. Of course, I said I would. You are so unlike any of my friends. Is that good? Nora thought for a second and smiled. Yeah, I guess it is. Good. Now we start our morning runs at 05:30, so we'll run by the inn, pick you up about 15 minutes later with others in tow. Nora rolled her eyes and groaned. Ugh, really? Yeah, we pushed the time back a little. You're welcome to join us for part of the run, Kimberly said. Part? Yeah, we do 10 miles every morning, but we don't expect others to do that much, Michael chuckled. How much? Only a mile or two. Nora hesitated on committing. I'm sure the twins would love to do it. Nora shot a look at her sisters who started bouncing excitedly at being able to work out with Juby-chan. Then back at Kimberly. I hate you. So you'll join us? Yeah. Great. I'll get the guns ready tonight so we can start training after breakfast. Guns? Nora asked. Yeah. Then after lunch, if you want. I want that, Greg jumped in. You want me to learn that? Nora asked in surprise. I meant I want to learn it, Greg answered. Me too, shouted the twins. That might be something we should do as a family, Lisa said. Could we? I guess the class will be here in the maintenance building, Michael said. First class will be after tomorrow's noon meeting, Kimberly shrugged. Hey, these are really good cookies, Susan said as she joined the group. Thank you, the twin said. Okay, it's getting closer. I'm going to need to wrap this up because it's almost time for the live stream of Shadow Scout Swede. Let's see how fast I can get through this. Well, George did a couple years as a plumber's assistant. He was going to, while he was going to college. He's going to start testing his sewer hookups in the morning. Benjamin said as he picked up a cookie. Suddenly a whining noise came from the back of the building, followed by the roar of a military generator coming to life. Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about, yelled Jake. Wahoo, someone else hollered. Everyone hurried over to the generator where the generator is running. They stood around in awe and joy. Then it stopped running. What's wrong? Benjamin asked. Why did it stop? Agnes shouted in horror. Did it break? Monica inquired of Jake as she leaned over to him. No, it's okay. I turned it off. I want to check a couple other things now that it fired up. He looked at his daughter. Jenny, get ready to write down some numbers. Sorry. Okay, there it is. I scrolled up a little bit, missed it. Ready, Dad. First number is fuel filter. Part number 427587. Got it. Next is the fuel water separator. Part number 438-5386. Got it. Well, Benjamin spoke to Michael and Kimberly. If you're going to go running tomorrow morning, right, Pops, we need to go home and go to bed, Kimberly agreed. Hold on, Monica called out. Michael, here are the keys to your Jeep. What about your trailer? I think it's completely empty. I don't think it's completely empty. All right, we're at page 361. Let me check something out here. 19 is, we got 2 pages. All right, I can finish it off here. I don't think it's completely empty yet. If not, then I'll get it tomorrow. My truck still has propane in it, so why don't you drive it and I'll take your Jeep. Kimberly said to Michael, okay, I'll see you at home first. I'll see you at home. First one there gets to shower first. Drive safe with those tanks and back. I'll be along shortly, so you don't need to rush. Hang on here. Yeah. Drive safe. Yeah, I will, Michael said, headed for the door. Mom, Kimberly turned to her mother. Let's go check out your trailer. All right. Oh, shoot, I forgot. I have the trailers, the Clark's trailer hooked onto your truck. She stepped outside, and the Jeep can't pull your trailer, can it? Don't worry about your trailer, Larry said as he walked over from the cargo containers. I'll bring it over with one of my dad's truck. Peyton and I need to borrow your trailer for a couple more nights until we can get the mobile home cleaned up. Not a problem, although I thought Peyton would be moving in with Susan. Kimberly, Monica snapped. That's not a proper thing to talk about. Larry chuckled. He's a little configured on that, but he wants to, but he's scared. So they are hitting it off. Kimberly said with a wicked smile. Oh yeah, he's just never been tied to one woman before. Enough said, Kimberly chuckled. Okay, Mom, I guess we can go. You go ahead. I'm going to check with Susan first and then follow along in a minute. Okie dokie, Kimberly sang as she skipped off to Michael's Jeep. The Clark's trailer is empty, Dan said, and Susan's is still full and has Jake's freezers in it. Peyton said, walking over. I gathered as much with extension cords going to it. We're going to need more freezers, Benjamin said. The family from Alpine all brought at least one chest freezer. Generator. Everyone that has a generator is powering those tonight, Dan said. But yes, we should still see about getting more tomorrow. Well, tomorrow we'll work on the power situation, Monica sighed. If Jake and my dad can get those filters and injectors for the big generator, we should be able to, and we need to see about getting a supply of diesel for it. I'll talk to Bob tomorrow and see what he suggests about that, Benjamin noted. I'll ask him tonight, Greg chimed in as he and his family walked towards their Suburban. Thanks, Benjamin replied. Sure thing, Greg. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be busy, Larry said flatly. I'll see you back at Clark's house. Okay, Monica said as she walked towards her truck with a big smile on her face, and then stopped and turned back to check on Susan before she headed to the Clark's. Okay, there we are. We're done with that. Hit save. All right, so in 40 minutes, 35 minutes, I'll be going live again with Shadow Scout Swede. The topic on that live stream is, what is your dream prepping gear? All right, everyone, take care, and I will see you